When are we gonna
We are live.
be alive? All right.
We are
That's
live.
that's what's up. Let me do all of my
We got the
setup.
one. We got the one story after the week shit. One
Mhm.
story, and then the rest of the episode is
Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Y'all so mad my wife had to work today, yo.
Ooh,
Yeah.
you hate to see it.
I hate to see it because she busts her ass and they gave her a position of power down there, but in order for when somebody gives you a position of authority, they gotta back up and let you do it. You know what I'm saying? And it's a lot of if you make a decision about something, they gotta okay, this is it. This is what you say. Yeah, all right, well, all right. You can't keep trying to run back and forth and just and undercut, undermine, and not allow and tie hands and yeah,
It's trash.
I don't be liking that.
Nah, nigga,
Yeah,
that ain't the move.
It's really.
Hey, Biddy.
Hey, Biddy. We doing our setup now.
Ooh. Ooh.
That's what I need to do. Ooh. Right here. Ain't this? I could have sworn I switched out of that. Oh well. There we go. All right.
Aye.
Okay. You bastard.
It wasn't me.
It was most assuredly you.
Nah, B. What are you doing? Yeah, you tripping. All right. We're
get rid of that. And do that. There we go.
Yeah.
I don't know why these screenshots be killing me. Like, yo, I swear, like we literally aren't really doing much right now. But this screenshot looked like we in the midst of a serious conversation, yo.
You're stupid.
It does. It's shit crazy.
You have mental issues.
I mean, sure.
Okay. No, that's it. That's it.
Let's see. All right. All right. Saturday morning cartoon stream is up. So let me also. Alrighty. Oh yeah, I am missing one more thing. There we go. And I'll move you.
Where you moving?
Yeah.
Where you moving? Stop moving things. See,
Shit.
I gotta move things because this big ass screen.
See, here's the thing, right? Listen, here's the thing. What we not gonna do. What we not gonna do. We're not gonna do.
No, realistically, I've never had a monitor this big. So like I'm not used, like the shit is like,
listen,
it's weird to get used to because
good morning, special space.
Morning.
Look, he says morning. Y'all hooked me last episode. Been Jones on like a crackhead for more. That's what's up.
Appreciate
That's
it.
what's up. We appreciate that.
But yeah, I've never had a monitor this big, so it's like, all right, what like things certain like putting one thing on it full screen, depending on what that thing is, kind of looks weird.
How many inches? How many inches is this? How many inches?
Is it 28?
Oh,
usually
is that all? Listen.
Usually I've been doing like 20, 24.
You know, I think I can speak for collectively for not just myself and our audience, but the YouTube entire, including people who don't watch our program.
I think that's
We
a bit
tired of you.
presumptuous, but okay.
We tired of you, Hulk Hogan, Chris Hemsworth, Prime Arnold Schwarzenegger flexing on motherfuckers.
I promise you that's not the case. I promise you nobody is actually tired of
it. Look, notice it's not the case that you're not doing it.
No, see, listen, I'm not gonna lie.
This nigga.
But I promise you nobody's tired of it. Nobody's really tired.
This nigga.
That doesn't happen enough for you. If you're tired of it at this point, you're a hater.
I reject I reject that assertion on the grounds that you did it enough in one episode.
No, hold on. No, listen. That's just how it played out. I happened to get the chair. Y'all see the chair?
Thank you, Betty.
The chair and the monitor.
See, man, this is the extra shit I be talking about right there.
What you mean?
We ain't need to see it.
I happened to get both at the same time. That's the only reason that it happened like that on that episode.
We ain't need to see the whole.
It's not like I'm talking about it. Like
you have to put it on the camera and shit, right?
The chair's on the camera regardless.
No, but hold on. Here's the thing, right? You did not have. I can't see it any other time on the camera. You went and turned that motherfucker. Like, you see it. You see it. That's
you did. The little twirl for you. Little twirl. Okay. No, listen. I'm just saying. That's it. I'm simply stating. That's it. Do I even? Let me see this. Yeah. Okay. Do I have things? I have things.
Things.
What is that though?
I don't know what things are. You're right. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I know what that is. All this shit. Well, not all of it. All right. Yeah, we good. There's another thing.
And another thing.
I don't and another want to put it on the show proper, but I'm hesitant to share this information, but it is what it is.
Well, if you're hesitant to share it, then maybe you probably shouldn't.
No, I mean, it's not. Can't nobody get in trouble and no shit like that, but
you don't know that.
Nah, ain't no way. If you get in trouble from what I share, that's completely your fault.
Yo, you know what? That whole you don't know that thing, that was a ongoing skit in my house when Malik was a teen. Like literally he would say something absolutely crazy. That of course we know that that's not true. And when we would go to correct him, his go-to line was, "You don't know that."
I mean, I get it.
I'm sure.
I'm sure you did. I understand. I get the premise.
It's being incorrigible for the sake of being incorrigible,
and that's totally fine. I mean,
that's all that is.
Do with your life.
It's not really. Look, I totally understand. You're right. If someone wants to do with their life,
especially as a teenager,
I have just never been that type of person to be saying
hold on,
and never and all this other shit for no reason. I mean,
okay,
it's always a legitimate reason.
I literally have a stockpile of memes. Gifts from you, literally saying those. As a matter of fact, 2 of them this morning. So no, man, we're not.
I mean, sure, when you take those out of context, then it can.
No, literally, the context was all right. Whatever. No.
Hey, man,
not doing that.
I just be trying to live life.
I don't think
people don't be trying to let me live.
I'm not sure that's how
they see dead man at the end of the stage name, and they don't be trying to let me live.
That's your fault.
I mean, no.
Nah, nigga, that's your fault. That's 100% your fault.
No, see, the problem is these same people fail to understand that that stage name is not a now or nothing. It's a verb. It's an action.
Nah, I get it.
Tombstone the dead man. Like take
Yeah,
Undertaker,
no,
turn him upside down, and tombstone him.
No, I hear you. Just not sure it's gonna work that way.
No, because that's a big motherfucker. Even now,
yeah. I don't.
Even now, that's a big motherfucker. You know.
Yeah, I just don't think. Like I'm rooting for you. I'm absolutely rooting for you.
Well, I'm rooting for me too, not to be there. Like I'm not going to be there with a chair. I won't be there with a stare.
Nope, we're not doing this. Not sure.
Welcome everyone to the Black Culture Geeks podcast. This is my man SPJ. You and I am Tombstone the Dead Man, and we are just a couple of geeks talking about pop culture from a black perspective. Facts indeed. Now, the month of June is slowly winding down.
I mean, it's getting its midlife crisis on.
It's getting its midlife crisis on. We are in the later stages, late stage capitalism, of June, right? There are a few big things still on our plate before this month is over. However, in the meantime, in the between time, it's been a case of process duties, dealing with certain things in the process to make the other big things actually work when we need them to work. Now,
this motherfucker is annoying as hell.
I'm being extremely cryptic with this because I'm sure this will come out in a multi-world documentary at some point, right? But needless to say, this past week has been
revolutionary.
I'm gonna let revelatory. Maybe it's close. I think I'm somewhere in the ballpark with that.
You might be right. I don't know.
Somewhere in the ballpark with that. But anyway, despite that, how was your week?
So first of all
the first.
Okay, I'm not doing this with y'all. I absolutely refuse to participate in the chicanery and tomfoolery any longer.
In the shenanigans?
Yeah, man, it's just not for me.
The bullshittery?
Yeah, bro. Like, listen, I just would like to say, in all sincerity, from the bottom of my heart, that ice is not supposed to fall from the sky in the summer. Listen. That I have never in my life.
You never heard of hailstorms in the summer?
Yes, asshole. Let me finish. I have never in my life experienced what I experienced earlier this week.
Somebody threw ice at you. That's crazy. You should do something.
So I was sitting in my room watching YouTube.
YouTubes.
The normal thunderstorm shit started. Like normal summer thunderstorm. You see the lightning, you hear the thunder. It's not quite raining.
Right.
That type shit. I'm like, oh, okay. They said this was going to happen. So, all right, whatever. So then,
yes, the ambiguous they.
Yeah. So then the power blinked. Not all of it. Just my AC and the light. It blinked just real quick. Came right back on. Just quick blink.
Right.
And I'm like, that's unwelcoming. Then like 30 seconds later, down. Then like 5 seconds later, up again. But this time it was everything. So the TV was off now. I'm like, God damn it. And that means
no more YouTubes for you.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while for the modem to fully reset and all this shit. I'm like, God damn it. All right. Yeah, it's a small inconvenience, but an inconvenience nonetheless.
Right.
And then it happened. Power went back off about 30 seconds later. Power went back off, and it did not blink back on. Ooh. Then the rain started.
Oh, here comes
and
the rain
I
again.
only say rain because I checked. because it was a sound that I've never heard before. The torrential downpour, literally, I looked out my window and I couldn't see. That is how much it was raining. And then that lasted for like a minute and a half. Then it stopped and the wind started. I legitimately thought that the windows were going to break. Then, like 30 seconds after that, the hail. Now, I've experienced hail before, but this was some different shit.
Welcome to
as fast as the water was falling, is as fast as the hail was falling, and that's not normal. And it was this big.
And what day was this, by the way?
I don't even fucking remember. I think it was Tuesday.
Okay.
I think it was Tuesday evening. And then that only lasted for like 40 seconds. And then the rain came back. And now my power's off and it's raining. And I look at my phone and I only have 30% left on my phone. So I'm like, all right, what do I do? So I text my homeboy, lives around the corner. I'm like, yo, what is going on? Like, your power out? He's like, yeah, my power's out too. And he's like, all right, shit. And it was a slight dull in the rain. It stopped ever so slightly. And I made a business decision. Because again, my phone was on 30%. I text him like, yo, unlock your door. I'm coming around this bitch. When I say puddles, and when I say puddles, I'm not talking about like a little no. Like, if you step in it, not stomp, not run, just lightly walking, it like submerged my foot, a couple of them. I'm like, nigga, yeah, let me go around here.
That clearly only happened down there because
it was a line. There was a line through, I think, the state, if I'm not mistaken, and everything on either side of that line got different versions. But the line,
we got rain, but we ain't getting no damn hail,
nigga.
And we didn't get. I don't think we got no real bad wind either.
The gale force wind, the torrential downpour. I've never seen it all together in person.
No, special space. We're in Maryland.
Yeah, that effectively shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, like I'm like not even in the same city. He's in Maryland technically. I'm in College Park.
Yeah,
he's in Baltimore. So that's what 30 minutes,
about 30,
roughly
35
minutes away.
Yeah, so I legitimately thought it was the end for a second or two. Like not like impending doom or no shit like that. But for a second or two, I was like, yo, is this it? Like, legitimately.
For a second, you thought I had found my three brothers and we were riding. That's all.
Nigga. Well, when I got to my homeboy house, I was like, yo, yeah, my phone's dying. He happened to have a power bank.
Well, let me ask you this. Well, why don't you have a cord to be able to plug your phone into your car and charge it?
Yeah, but I wasn't going in my fucking car. Listen, the issue with going in my car was not knowing when I would be able to leave the car.
Oh,
like that.
Listen, there are people that live in their cars, sir. So
yeah, not me. No, I'm good. I don't live that life. I don't. So, it just made more sense, and I can't. This is going to sound crazy to anybody who has never experienced this. I can't sleep if the power's out. The reason that I can't sleep if the power's out is because it's too quiet.
Well, here's the thing about that. My wife swears she can't either, but she actually can. Because numerous times, like the way the sleep pattern goes, right,
Mhm.
is that she says she needs the noise of the television going,
Right.
but but no, because our TV, we have Comcast, the Infinity, whatever, and that updates every night.
Mhm.
And when it updates, it restarts and it's muted.
Right.
And hours will go by where that thing's
Mhm.
muted and she's steady.
Wait,
we
no,
don't
hold
know-
up, but that's different. That's hold up.
Mhm, mhm.
Being able to remain sleep is not the same as being able to get sleep.
No, that's true. That's true.
That's
That's true.
that's the difference. Like, and I don't necessarily need the TV. It's not that. If you ever sit, anybody out there, I'm not asking you. Clearly, I'm not asking you to force a power outage for yourself. I'm just saying,
Why not?
if you're
How dare you?
well, no, that's not. No, I'm not. No. Anyway, if you ever have been in a house when nothing's on
Mhm.
and the power then goes out,
Yeah.
you'll hear the difference.
Oh no,
There's a hum-
I've been
yeah,
there.
there's a hum
There is.
that exists that is omnipresent as long as your power is on that you don't necessarily perceive
No,
because you're used to it.
used to hearing it. Right.
Yeah, but when that goes away, I can't go to sleep in that state. Like,
Yeah, that's a shame.
That doesn't work.
You have been effectively corrupted by
Nigga.
living in civilization,
Right.
because clearly your primitive ancestors 50,000 years ago could absolutely sleep without that.
No, but here's the thing. Outside has a sound as well, though.
It does.
It's just that when I'm inside, so I'm largely shielded from outside sounds unless they turn up.
Open a window.
Yeah, again. It was fucking storming.
Your ass.
It was storming. Yo,
Now,
matter
you
of
couldn't hear
fact,
the storm. You couldn't use the storm, the sound of the rain and stuff to go to
so
sleep.
what happens? See, the crazy thing is storms, if you've ever paid attention to any meteorologist ever, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. They're unpredictable. So
what? This is new shit.
Shut up. If the storm ends, then there's no longer storm sounds.
Right, but
So, like,
hopefully you could sleep, get to sleep, and then if it stops,
yeah,
it don't matter because you
here's
already.
the thing. If the thunder comes, that's gonna wake me up.
Yeah,
potentially.
that damn Thor.
No, Thor and Aurora, they must have been fighting. Because nigga, I was like, yo, this is not right. This is not natural. Something is going wrong. Yo, it was so bad. The song was so bad. This window was open, right? The window's back here. From here to, you can't see, from probably about here on the floor was wet.
Okay. Oh, damn.
That's how bad, that's how bad the wind combined with the rain was. So I was not leaving any window open.
Nah, I feel you.
At that point.
Special Space says, oh shit, we got the tail end of that storm yesterday in Ontario. No hail, but lots of rain. So that shit was all the way up there in Canada.
I'm not surprised.
You know what I'm saying?
It was a big system, It was a big system.
Oh, damn. Mike says, I am on, what's that, I-79? Taking the kids to the theme park, but we are listening to this. What? This is from
I don't
understand the last part. But okay, we get the gist though. Yeah. What's up, Big Mike? Big Mike.
Yep. Speaking of Mike, that reminds me. Never mind. I'm not gonna do it. I said I was hesitant. I'm just not gonna do it. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. All right. So everything else is work. This girl comes into the rental. Actually, matter of fact, I got food, so I'm about to go get my food. You talk to them for a second. I'll be right back.
Now, I want everybody to pay attention to the fact that numerous times the type of insults and critique I will get from SPJ and Adequate is that I am always eating. It's always me. Somehow I'm always filling my face. I'm greedy, yada, yada, yada. Bear witness to the fact that this man just sat back down.
You're lying.
With some food.
You're lying.
To consume.
That's not what happened.
Air.
It's not
He's
what
about to tear that. Biddy said, it's second breakfast, Biddy. he's eating second breakfast. He's a damn hobbit. And
no,
listen,
I wish. Listen, I love food. I wish I was on second breakfast.
Listen, this guy. This guy, I just want the record to show.
The record show
man is eating.
The record will
reflect. About to eat.
Oh, y'all see
right now.
Oh no, I'm not doing nothing to hide it.
When just so I need this to be remembered. It's a teachable moment. So when Adequate and SBJ make these inane comments,
here's the thing
about my eating habits.
No, here's the thing. That what I'm doing doesn't change anything about what
you do. Sir, it changes everything. And I will tell you why. Incorrect. Because there is an old ancient saying that I believe you can find in the ancient book of the Akaja records.
And the saying is irrelevant.
At me, that's not what the saying is. That's not what the saying is. When you point a finger at me, there are three pointing back at yourself. And that doesn't
change anything.
Sir, no, it changes everything.
Nothing. Effectively changes nothing. So I got a moral dilemma. Well, not quite moral, but a personal dilemma. So I had this thing where, for some reason, I don't know if I talked about this on the show, but I've told you. For some reason, when people deliver food to my apartment, there are issues. Issues pop up from time to time.
Right.
Now, it's been a very long time since I've had the issue where for some reason they can't find my apartment. So that's great. That's great. That's been over for a while. But now the issue has just started popping up. The last two times I ordered food,
right,
is they let me know when they get here that that they're here, and ask me to open the door. The issue,
Fab,
the issue with that is I have instructions on this app because they ask you, they prefer that you give them instructions for the delivery the drivers. So I oblige because the app asks for such. And in those instructions, it gives them my door code for them to get in. 90, maybe 3% of the people get that and they use it because that's what the fuck it's for. I assume, because why else would the app have that feature if it wasn't for that? So, all right, I'm like, here's the dilemma. I don't know if I'm being unreasonable because I understand that no mechanism.
You unreasonable?
Allow me to finish. I don't know if I'm being unreasonable because I understand wholly and have no illusions otherwise that no mechanism is 100%, right? However, I was looking at it at a more micro level and assessing each individual on their individual merit. So, so it's like, all right, no, I shouldn't have any expectations that this will have 100% success rate. However, I feel like it's reasonable to expect an individual adult to be able to follow these instructions.
Really?
I didn't say that. I didn't wait. Let me be clear. I said I feel like it's reasonable for an adult to be able to follow these instructions. I didn't say I expect them to, or none of that.
Do you think that maybe there's another reason why they're not following those instructions? Could it possibly be that because you currently live in the Irvington area of Emerson Village, and nobody ain't just walking up in your vestibules?
That's not true though. So. again, 90% of the people do it. 93%.
Yeah, but those people like taking chances. Nigga, I have had it go down in the vestibule. I've had it go down. You know what I'm saying? Nigga, I have had to pull shotguns and put them outside of the door of an apartment to get motherfuckers away from my door back in the day. Like I ain't just putting the code in and then walking in on some shit. Walking on a drug deal or some shit like that. Nah, B. Nah. Nah.
Ain't no goddamn drug dealers in my building.
Nigga, I know that nigga, I know that area you at. Don't think I don't know.
Nigga, I know the company. I work for it. I know every person. I know every person in this goddamn. I know their. Listen, I ain't gonna incriminate myself, but
right.
I know things about the people that live in this goddamn apartment building.
So, I'm just saying. Them guys don't. And
so what you're saying is I'm being unreasonable.
No, I'm not saying that. You're absolutely within reason. Lord Donnybrook in the comment space, right? right.
It's like
right?
I'm torn about it because, like I said, I know that no mechanism is 100%, but at the same time,
I don't think that might be what it is. I think these few people out of that percentage, I don't know what the percentage is out of the few people that are doing it the way you don't want them to do it and not reading what's on the app.
Right.
I think there might be a percentage of them that's like, yo, I'm not just walking up in this place. Somebody's going to come and escort me.
But here's the thing,
or something.
Here's the thing. When they ask me to let them in, all I do is hit the button, then they come up.
Okay.
So it's like, yo, you couldn't just read your damn app? Like, I don't understand.
See, I was under the impression, I had a different impression. See, I've been there, right? Down at the projects, Murphy Home Projects. I've walked through there where they took all the lights out.
Oh, see, that's different. No,
you can't see shit. And when the chick house we was going to, when she opened her door, the light from her apartment shined in the hallways. And that's when we saw on one side of the hallway to the other side of the hallway enough niggas to make a Roots movie. So, like, I'm seeing, I'm thinking in them terms. What's up, Jonathan? What's going on? We really just got started.
Yeah.
Oh shit! One of my songs remind him of the show, Anti-Hero. That's what's up.
Word. Well, yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that tracks. That tracks. That does track. But that's that's what I was thinking. Like I said, I know the area. I used to be around there. I ain't live around there, but I used to be around there. And at least back when I was a lad, once we pushed the Velociraptors out of the way, it was a lot of shit going down. There's a lot of shit going down in that area, you know.
I think this couple like stole somebody's food the other day.
See,
I pulled up in front of my apartment,
right,
and they was outside walking around. They had like a big bag. I ain't paying no, I ain't paying no mind. But they came up to the car,
right,
and they was like, "Yo, you order food?" And I was like, "No." And they was like, "All right," and they started walking the other way. So me trying to be a good Samaritan.
See, that's how you
I'm like, yo, what address? What address y'all looking for? And he was like, "Oh no, I ain't looking for no address." So what you're saying is, this is what I get from that. What you're saying is somebody ordered food, the people left it outside for them to come get it. You saw that, you grabbed their food, and because I pulled up, you try to make sure it wasn't mine.
So in other words, they were trying to be good Samaritans.
No, that's not a fucking good Samaritan.
They were checking the temperature.
They walked away with it.
This might be his shit.
They got away with it.
No,
and they got away with it.
We're gonna steal it, but if it's his, all right, he pulled up. We can't.
That's not good Samaritan shit. That's okay. I'm not gonna be a complete piece of shit.
That might be neutral chaos. That might be neutral chaos shit.
No, bro. That's chaotic. That's chaotic bad, my guy. All right, it's not quite chaotic bad, but still, It's close to chaotic bad.
Maybe chaotic.
They were like, I'm going to take this shit so far as I'm not like deliberately looking at this nigga eyes when I take his shit. Like, that's where they draw the line. Like, I'll steal it. I won't rob you for it.
Yo, Fab says, yo, that happened when he was delivering the VHO. 2 home fresh boxes gone.
See? That's what I'm saying. Yo, people ain't shit, yo. And
hey, look, like, man, listen. People are hungry. Look.
No, yo.
They was
about to give me the food, my guy.
Listen, they's gonna share the food.
Look, listen. Listen to me clearly. If I order some food, and motherfuckers walk up to me with it, talking about we can share, I play about a lot of things.
It's a Lord Donnybrook.
Listen, I play about a lot of things. Chief among them that I don't.
What's
time.
That?
My closest acquaintances.
Let's get
and food.
Yeah, absolutely. We know. We see it.
Absolutely.
We see it.
No, baby, that's not about to happen. But anyway, so one of the days I was at one of my jobs doing my thug thizzle, and a young lady walks into the office. She's inquiring about receiving her keys because she was trying to move in.
Mm-hmm.
She had come up prior several times to the office and done several transactions of time and labor where she filled out applications and signed paperwork and paid money. And she was just trying to get her keys. And the young lady that was helping her, upon further review of her files, said, Miss, I can't give you keys. You haven't paid for everything you need to pay for in order to get your keys.
To which she responded, I don't want you to give me
she
keys.
Just
I thought she was going to ask you to borrow the keys.
No.
She knows she ain't paid, so she can't.
Well, no.
Oh.
She left.
Oh, okay.
And she came back a couple minutes later.
When
she returned,
a bunch of dudes.
Her mood was no longer young lady.
Oh.
Her mood was Hellcat. Look, I don't care what nobody said. I paid my money. I gave y'all all the money I have. I don't got no more money. I don't got nowhere to live. I need my keys.
Oh, well, there it is.
I'm not leaving here till I get my keys.
There it is. Ball in your court.
In her rant, I noticed something. She said, I know I came in here the other day and I paid $905. And then a light bulb went off in my head. I see what's going on here.
What's going on?
But I don't work here, so I can't intervene. But I know what's going on here. This young lady, first of all, there is not one unit in our, how many units we got? Like 10,000. 10 out of our 10,000 units, I'll just use that.
Right.
That you can move into by paying only $905.
That was a down payment.
Not a single one.
Down payment.
Because in order to move into our properties, you have to pay at the bare minimum the security deposit and first month's rent.
Oh.
The security deposit.
Why y'all got such expensive apartments, man?
We don't. Oh. Let me be clear. Yes, some of them are, but that's not the issue here. Okay. Security deposit, 1 month's rent. Security deposit is always at least 1 month's rent.
Right.
So what happened is she paid her security deposit, thought that she was paying all of her money. And that's the assumption that's the understanding. That was her reality. She came in there knowing she
now,
paid her money.
And now she ready to throw hands because,
hey, there was that, ma'am, you paid half of what you need to move in. There's a whole nother all the money you have that you owe us.
Give my damn keys.
Mm-hmm. Now, the manager wasn't in the building at the time.
Did she ask to speak to the manager?
Oh, well, the young lady that was behind the counter informed her that, ma'am, there's nothing I can do for you. You can speak to the manager. She's not here right now, but she is on her way back.
So sit down, calm down, be quiet.
Well,
wait.
She said, hey, you can wait over there for her. She's on her way. The lady walks over, said, I'm going to stand right here. I'm going to stand right here. Okay.
Wait a minute, stand right where? What in a threatening manner here?
Somewhere slightly different than where the rental agent asked her to go. Very slightly different, like a foot. So
don't tell me what to do.
Right. After like 3 minutes, she walks outside. And mind you, she's in the middle of the street. She never parked her car. Her car is sitting in the middle. Like it's enough space for somebody to get past her, to slow down, focus, and get past her.
She's still out of line. She's out of line.
But she's right next to a parking space. Like literally right next to a parking space. And I'm not talking about you gotta full on parallel park. No, it was the length of 2 parking spaces.
You know what it was? She thought she was gonna come in there, bully the keys out of the person's hand and get back in the car and pull off and go to the apartment.
Right. So I'm like, all right. She goes outside and she gets on the phone, starts yelling, fussing. And this whole time she's outside of her car. She won't fucking park. I'm like, yo, that's mad inconsiderate. But I'm not about to go out there and say nothing to her. So, like I said, I gave the manager the hootie hoo. Mm-hmm. Like, yo, you got somebody in here. They talking about they paid their money. By hearing what they said, they paid their security deposit. They ain't paid their first month's rent. Right. That's what you got to look forward to when you get here.
Yeah, X20
like, oh,
X23 is in the building and with a berserker rage and shit.
Thanks. So manager finally gets there. She stops the manager outside.
How did she know who the manager was?
I don't know if she knew she was the manager. She's the one that took her money though. Like she's the one that,
okay. All right.
Yeah, so that's why
she did some more. That's the manager.
And she stopped her outside and she was like, I understand what you're saying. I can explain it all to you, but let's go inside. For some reason, she just wasn't coming inside. Like,
thought y'all was gonna try to do something to her.
What the fuck? Anyway, so manager gets in. The young lady still outside, running back and forth, fussing, yelling. Yeah. So I got my eyes on her because the last thing that I need to happen is for her to come in there with some type of weapon, and then now
maybe the only weapon she had was at the end of her wrist, coming in and give y'all the Beats by Dre.
Listen, the last thing that I wanted to have to do was apprehend this young lady because I was the only goddamn guy in the damn building at the time. So I'm watching her because if she comes back with a weapon, the door is locked. If she comes back with a weapon, I can just tell them like, yo, don't let her in. Like she got the hammer. You know she got the. But anyway,
she got the burner. You know she got. Oh, so, Biddy says she sold that X23 issue, the first issue.
Wow. No, I mean, it's too late now, but
yeah. Oh,
ouch. So, I don't even remember how that got resolved. Long story short, she left.
Did she get the apartment? Is what we really want to know.
No, clearly not. That's not. We never and have not. And that's what the manager. Yo, props to that manager, my sister. I love her to death. She handled that shit like a boss. She got on the phone because she called.
Right.
The lady, and she's like, because she said she was coming in, and she hit the button she rung the buzzer, and they opened the door, but she never came in. I'm like, so I look out the window, don't see her at the door. She never came in the door, and I still see her car, so I know she's still here. So I'm like, all right, I don't know what is going on. So I'm still on my watching shit to make sure she don't grab nothing or no shit like that. And then she pulls off. So I'm like, all right. And I told the manager, I'm like, yo, she pulled off. She was like, all right, I'm gonna look through her file and verify. But yeah, based on what you told me, that's exactly what happened. She paid her security deposit and thought she was paying everything.
Right.
So she called her, explained the situation. Girl starts yelling at her. She said, oh, excuse me. What's not gonna happen is I'm not gonna sit here while you yell at me. And
that's not happening.
We can talk. We can have this conversation. I'm absolutely willing to work with you. I want to get this resolved, but you're not going to yell at me.
Yeah, let's not do that.
So they continue talking, and she's just handling all the yelling. And every time, excuse me, what do we say about yelling? I was like, yes.
Did she just Barney her?
Yes. Like, yes, that's how you handle shit.
Man.
So when she explained to the girl, like, actually, because the girl got to the point, she was like, I just want my money back. Like, she's like, well, actually.
Oh, shit. Somebody's talking about actually, and that's never a good thing.
We are under no obligation to give you your money back. You signed a contract with us, and you gave us money to fulfill that contract. So, but what I will do for you is I'll call my corporate office and I'll see if we can get that taken care of.
Well, her getting her money back?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because at that point, we don't want her to live with us.
I was about to say, you don't want Laura Kinney in there snicking up the place after you done seen this motherfucking temper
shit. Like, nah, at that point, nah, we don't want you to stay here. Like, so here's the kicker. Now, I wasn't around for this conversation, but I'm fairly certain it became cantankerous, to say the least. She wanted her money back immediately.
Oh,
that's not how that works.
Oh.
She had paid her money like a week before. That money is gone.
Yeah.
Don't nobody in our company have that money available to give back to her right now. It's going to take some doing. Because with our security deposits, I think we put it into this interest-bearing account. So, yeah, it's going to take more than right now for you to get your money.
Right.
Because first of all, the money, even if we could have got the money available for her in our company that day, meaning if like we just took it from another account,
right,
it would still be downtown. So she would still have to wait for somebody to take it out to the job.
Right.
And that wasn't going to happen same day. There was literally no way that was going to happen. So I kind of wanted to be around for that conversation when she told her.
I don't know that you did. I don't know, because
that's the type of shit you listen to from a distance.
Yeah, you use that from a distance, or you get the playback. Because she coming in that motherfucker with 4 knives coming out of her fists, right, and 2, one from each foot. Out there, start ripping new a-holes.
Yeah, Rhino.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that was it, except for this one guy bothering me about some fucking levels on some music. Like, outside of
these guys, you gotta really watch them and shit, because they try to get you to do some extra work sometimes.
Oh, that's what. Okay, that's what we're gonna. Okay, that's how we get. All right. Yeah, like I got some music, and I'm like, all right, this is what it is. And
hey, look,
this
man,
motherfucker's like, no, yo.
He probably just wanted the levels. He wanted the levels to be right. That's all. He don't want people, playing their shit, going from one song, oh shit, and blown out by the next like, nah, you know what I'm saying? That's what that is. Speaking of that, that is kind of been my week has been full of preparation. And so here's this thing with me and music. And this is not necessarily doing the conceptual part of the process. This is doing the nuts and bolts part of the process. So every release I've ever done, every single one, before the release, I go through this anxiety period of what, you might ask? Sound quality. Am I getting the best sound quality that I can get with the tools and the skill and experience that I have? Or am I missing something? Is there something I'm missing? Have I listened to these final mixes and then masters on enough different varying devices to see if I get an overall take on how this is actually sounding? Is this going to sound drastically different in somebody's car than it sounds in their headphones or over their computer things and all this other stuff? I always go through that shit. Why? That comes from being traumatized for years of not learning engineering, not knowing that, or on the process of learning it, yet still having an audience and still dropping music, right? You know what I'm saying?
The audience that was like, "Fuck that." What do you mean?
Right. But that's how that was. This week has been a combination of that as well as preparation for music video stuff. I have took my ass out to the location where we're shooting this video twice this week. I went out there one time because I was like, parking space.
Facts.
How close can we get to the location so we don't have to drag this equipment a long distance? So I go out there and luckily I do find a parking space that's in a reasonable distance, and still our area is secluded away from it. Right? But it's a reasonable distance, right? As a matter of fact, it's right there at one of the forks in the trail. It leads right there, so that's cool. And what I forgot to do is put that picture in that video that I showed you, because I took a picture of the space itself, but we'll figure that out. And then the second time I went there is because so much of my creative process is shorthand. It's not written down anywhere. It's not recorded anywhere, or at least not all of it. There's a piece of it, and then I expand it out here. So the first time I went down there to take video and get some pictures and try to do a little storyboarding beforehand, I didn't get anywhere near as much video as I thought I did. Why? Word. Because of my mental shorthand. I will go there, okay, so just bam, 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 bam. Oh yeah, now I know exactly what, because that little bit of video, what I added on to that up here, it's a lot that's not there, right? It's not there because I'm doing it according to my process. Now realizing, like, this is literally the first time that I will shoot a music video with someone else. I've never shot a music video with anyone else. And I haven't had many music videos, true, but I've had a few.
Right.
I've had at least 3, maybe even 4. And I always was solo with that. So you're working in your own head off the shit you have up here. Some shit you don't need you right now. So it's a little different thing. So I went up there again to take a more complete overall video of the surrounding area, so that SBJ would know exactly what I'm talking about as far as what the place looks like, what we're dealing with, the terrain, the background, the setting, and all of that. And then going home with that, of course, sometimes conceptualizing for a music video seems like it's the same thing I do when I conceptualize for a damn song. Because I'm coming, like I have the initial idea of what I want to talk about. And I have a few lines to that effect, right? But of course, everything is on the go as you go, adding as you go, adding as you go. That's exactly what it was with this video for me this week. I was adding as I went. Oh, then we do this. Oh, and then we do this. But then I got to always remind myself, you got to go and put this down somewhere to make it easier on the person that's working with you at the time for them to understand that shit and at least some sort of a blueprint, of what we're going to be out there doing.
Right.
Also, this week, really weird. So for a few weeks this year, we did not have a dryer. It had broke. The one we had when we moved in broke down. The landlord dragged at his feet. And it was all a bit of the passing the buck type shit because, it's the insurance company. Listen, man, you the one responsible. We don't deal with the insurance company. You get us our shit. Took them. It was a whole big mess, and we finally got it, but it took forever. Well, one of the cats in this house, Cleo, has taken it upon herself with our screen door to when the door's open, because we don't let her go out much, she wants to hang on that screen door. And over the course of
that's her prerogative, damn it.
Yeah, okay. Well, my foot is my prerogative too. So in the process of her doing that, she eventually wound up ripping away at that thing. That is a problem because one, keeping that door open.
Is that right?
No. Keeping that door open is cool as long as mosquitoes and bugs can't get in, right?
Right.
But when you rip the screen down even a little bit, the motherfucker's gonna finally daddy's spending time with me. So we of course voiced the complaint. Hey, somebody gotta fix this. Landlord comes over. No, the landlord finally comes over after weeks. And he takes the old one out. Then he leaves. More weeks ensue. And I tell my wife, I'm like, we've been, they
he made it worse effectively.
They're drying. This is the same shit with the dryer, right? Like he finally appears here yesterday. Or was it Thursday? I can't remember. I hear something bumping against the back door, and it's him. He's fixing the screen, doing all of that. Okay. No need for you to knock on the door. I don't care. I don't care to speak to you. Just get that shit fixed and then go home. Right. By the way, I have no issues with the landlord.
Right. He's just people.
This is my thing with people at my I don't like that shit. So I thought that's what was going to happen. I thought wrong. Because not only did he fix that, and I looked out the window, I noticed some of his tools were still there. I said, this motherfucker left his tools here. No, he hadn't left yet. Surrounding the backyard, the back 40 of our palatial manor here in College Park, there is a fence. And beyond that fence, there is another part, another infenced area, so to speak, that is also on our property line. That used to be a place where at some point somebody that lived here owned a horse, and they had a little barn over there, and they kept the horse over there. I find him over there doing landscaping of some sort because there is a lot of weeds that will grow up on that fence. And I get to him when I get to him. I got a little trimmer thing. I get to him when I get to him. He's over there doing that now, ripping that out, taking the time, doing all this. Then he goes on the other side of the fence. That's the one that separates our yard, civilization, from the wilderness that is the woods back there, and he started doing that. So he was out there for a good 2-3 hours doing that. To which case I went, you weren't asked, but okay. But to be clear, what we asked you to do, it took you forever to do. And then the thing we didn't ask you to do, you out there doing that. It's kind of crazy to me.
He was helping, man.
Hey.
Putting that work in.
Maybe, but
blood, sweat, and tears.
See, that's political capital you exhausting over there. Yeah, I said it. It's political capital you exhausting over there for something that's cool, right? But we ain't really asked for that. We wanted the dryer in a good reasonable amount of time. We wanted that screen thing fixed in a reasonable time. When we first moved here, we wanted the water heater not to go out.
Well, sure, but that's not.
I'm just saying the overall theme is the things that we ask you to do, the things that we need. The ancillary stuff is cool.
Right.
But you're giving me the frosting instead of the cake.
You stupid.
And I want all y'all to understand something. That analogy will be used again in this episode.
Oh, God.
Right? It will be used again in this episode for very good reason. But yeah, overall, that was my week. Even up till this morning, I was up early this morning doing another master just to see what I could get out of it. Right. So, yeah, that's my week. That was my week.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Indeed.
Huh. Interesting.
Oh, indeed.
So, I guess we jump into this first story.
Yeah, let's get into this first.
Tessica Brown.
No, absolutely not.
For all of you who don't know who that is,
no.
Gorilla Glue Girl. She's back, y'all.
You said that so. That's so pained. It's so much pain in your voice.
I mean, it's not a judgment. It's just a fact. Adding another chapter to the Gorilla Glue saga, Tessica Brown launches a hair care line. Well, that escalated quickly. Tessica Brown won attention, ridicule, and sympathy in equal parts this February after broadcasting on TikTok that she'd ill-advisedly used Gorilla Glue to secure her signature hairstyle after running out of her tried and true got-to-be glue blasting freeze hairspray. The incident kept us and millions of others glued. Okay. All right.
See, this is come on.
To social media,
no,
as the catastrophe unfolded, eventually gaining the attention of Beverly Hills plastic surgeon Dr. Michael Obang, who successfully removed the adhesive from Brown's scalp, free of charge, but also had to remove most of her hair in the process. As Brown told the Root soon after the procedure, after making such was a big mistake, it was well worth it. I'm pretty much taking it all in, she told freelance contributor Deny at the time.
Well, good thing she didn't say I'm pretty much putting it all on.
Okay, all right. My scalp is better. I've been using the treatment that Dr. Obeng gave me. He said it would take 6 weeks to restore my hair back to where it was originally. Just last week, Brown updated the public on her progress, debuting a fluffy, short do in an Instagram post captioned, "It's the hair for me." Clearly encouraged by the response, the 40-year-old made another debut on Wednesday, announcing via an Instagram video that she'd collaborated with professionals to launch her own hair care line, Forever Hair. Her flagship product, Forever Hair Growth Stimulating Oil, which Brown calls a lifesaver when it came to regrowing and maintaining her hair and healing her damaged scalp. "I absolutely love it. I can't believe what these products do," she told People magazine. According to the outlet, Brown also stayed on brand with a Forever Hair Forever Hold spray, so no one else will run into the same accidental issue with delivered glue again. All right, hold on.
Sis.
I'm sorry.
Sis. Sis.
I'm sorry. I tried to get through this article.
Sis.
There is no way.
And the rock means no way.
The percentage of people that would have done that before your incident was already extremely low.
No, it was literally 1 in 9 billion.
But now, after you've done that, I guarantee you. But anyway, the products I was using weren't working. No shit. Okay. Disclosing that development on the products began about 2 months ago. As far as my hair growth, it's growing so fast and so healthy. It looks amazing. She added. I mean, for sure, some of us could see this business venture coming, but way to leverage a growth opportunity. Since the
Stop. That was a shot.
It was.
Way to leverage a growth.
Again, okay, I'm trying to get past these things.
Okay.
Since the ordeal would be a pretty elaborate and dangerous ruse just for the sake of marketing, we're just going to cheer her on and wish the best with her newest endeavor. If you're curious about how her hair care line might work on your follicles, you can shop it and a surprising array of Bonded for Life branded apparel featuring a caricature of her and the famous glue can on the Forever Hair website. Okay.
So real quick, this has been my mantra for a while now, and it remains as such.
Get the bag.
Sis, get your money. If people out there are willing to see you as an influencer as regards to hair care, get your money. This is not, trust me, the stuff that we're about to say is only because we clowning you, only because we like you.
Yeah, there's no bearing on
please
taking advantage of the opportunity. Good shit. Get your money. Shit. Hell yeah.
Get your shit. However, if we're going to do that, can I humbly submit an application to be someone who used your product?
Oh my God. Look, you damn dirty ape.
Look, all I'm saying is this is the equivalent or the very near equivalent, right? Of someone who has been bitten by a shark a bunch of times, coming out with shark repellent. Look, you okay? Maybe not the literal.
Yeah, no, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Right, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like this is what's up, Joe? He said,
"I promise you." No, go ahead.
Joe said, "Exploiting opportunities is what capitalism." Right. That's what I'm saying. Get your money because there's a sucker born every minute. And I would say that when that saying was first said, that was true. Now it's every second.
Exponential. Yeah.
Every second. So get your money. Do you? Maybe we'll see a happy ending out of this. But who knows? We might look at you in a couple of years and you are just one of the richest people in hair care. Like, it can happen. It can happen.
There's potential for that to be the case.
And I gotta say this too. You gotta respect the gall.
Bruh. Bonded for life. Come on, yo. Come on, yo. No, yo.
Don't that sound like an off-Broadway play about Venom and Eddie Brock?
You are so incredibly dumb. Wow. Oh, Bonded for life, my guy.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean,
Bonded for life.
I mean, it was an opportunity for growth.
I don't belong
Oh,
here. Eddie.
oh shit.
I don't
Here comes
belong
trouble.
here, yo. I don't belong here.
No,
I
listen.
don't belong here.
No, sir. Listen, you absolutely belong here. You know why? You see, in Marvel, there is a race called the Watchers. I kind of feel like in our universe,
that's us.
That's us. We're the Watchers. I am Tombstone. I'm the Watcher. Like I watch these the species do its dance.
Yo, this can't be life, yo.
Oh, this is definitely life. You know what's crazy about this being life? This has not always been life. About 300,000 years ago, we weren't like this. we weren't like this. But over the course of time, you see that meme where they have the evolutionary depiction of ape going up to man, and then at the end, the man is going pointing back. Go back. That's what we are.
Facts.
That's where we are right now.
It's alarming.
Yo, no, we need to
disturbing.
We need to do another music project called The Watchers.
Yo.
We need to
do yo. Write that down. Like we actually
What?
Yo. What? No, yo, we absolutely it's imperative.
Yo, listen. It's gotta happen, right?
It's gotta happen at this.
It's gotta happen. Like, listen, the stuff that we see going on with you humans, my favorite TV show. I mean, it has everything. It has tragedy, humor. The only thing it doesn't have, and maybe they might want to add this to the maybe some showrunners could be listening to this now. Might want to add this. Thoughtful moments.
All right, no, I'm done with this. Get Joe on because you.
hey, Joe, click that link. Click that link, brother.
You need to be.
I need to be stopped.
You need to be admitted somewhere because my God. No, I mean you're right though. You're not.
Yeah,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I'm just saying. So we wanted to have a conversation. First of all, I want to say happy Juneteenth.
Absolutely.
To everybody.
Absolutely. Officially.
And it's important for us to say this now because some of the things that we're going to say during the course of this, we don't want you to think that that's not.
I'm going to clarify that again.
Yeah,
we'll clarify that again as we go.
Definitely. And we have once again
we are
on
here.
The program.
friend of the pod, fellow content creator that I'm still got my foot in his back to continue to create content on the Serious Mind channel on YouTube. Joe Stevenson.
Hey, let's go, man.
Yeah. What's good, bro?
Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys on this wonderful Juneteenth.
On this wonderful
official Juneteenth.
Yeah. Officially.
Yes. And of course, what kind of amazes me, it shouldn't amaze me, but it does, is that despite the fact that it passed, unanimously in the Senate,
there
were 14 holdouts in the House, but so still broad support, for the most part. And it's still right-wing media is blowing up.
Oh yes,
angry. So think about that. So the people who want us to believe that there's no white supremacy in this country, that the country wasn't founded with white supremacy, and it doesn't still exist today, are angry that we are officially recognizing the day when the last slaves stopped being slaves.
Right. All right. So let's do it like this. I have two articles for this particular thing, and this is so. If you got time, this is what we on for the rest of the show.
All right.
So let me get into this first article. Make Juneteenth great again. The Caucasian's Guide to Celebrating Juneteenth. Now that Juneteenth is a federal holiday, we created a CRT-free educational curriculum to help colonizer Americans resist the urge to gentrify this celebration.
Oh, you can forget that. That's out. That's happening.
Hold up, white people. Now that you have officially discovered Juneteenth, you need to become familiar with the traditions, customs, and history, lest you succumb to the Caucasian colonization gene and gentrify this auspicious celebration. Before hopping on the Juneteenth bandwagon, you first need to realize that you have no say in driving the narrative about this special day. Left to your devices, Juneteenth might become a day when you parade around in African head wraps, drinking Hennessy, just like y'all celebrate Mexican Independence Day on May 5th by donning sombreros and taking shots of American tequila. So to protect the legacy of this special day, The Root created this handy-dandy guide to help you become familiar with existing in spaces you don't own. Welcome to the Juneteenth Project. What Juneteenth is. As Dr. Henry Louis Gates wrote for The Root in 2013, Juneteenth is the most popular annual celebration of emancipation from slavery in the United States. It commemorates the day when enslaved people in Galveston found out they were free. To be clear, it is not the only celebration. Washington, D.C. has an annual Emancipation Day. Some cities commemorate the passage of the 13th Amendment with Freedom Day.
Right.
Perhaps the most well-known celebration is the White Watch Night services, a tradition that dates back to 1862 when enslaved people gathered in churches on New Year's Eve to wait for the Emancipation Proclamation to go into effect. Then they went to the club and ate collard greens and black-eyed peas. What Juneteenth is not. Juneteenth is not the Black 4th of July. It does not commemorate the end of slavery. The use of Black bodies as white people's wealth-building human chattel didn't officially end until the ratification of the 13th Amendment.
That's right.
Also, America's actual Independence Day is July 2nd, 1776. Don't worry, we know you people don't know a lot about true history. Juneteenth is not reparations.
Hold up, stop. You need to repeat that and put that on a goddamn billboard.
Juneteenth is not reparations. Making Juneteenth a holiday does not absolve the country of its past, nor does it make up for any of the injustices. Black people were going to celebrate anyway. If anything, white people should be thanking us for a day off. Juneteenth is not the racism vaccine. Celebrating Juneteenth does not make you an ally or an anti-racist any more than going Christmas shopping with two friends means you're the three wise men. Juneteenth is not yours. Do not infiltrate your capitalist customs into Juneteenth. There will be no mattress sales or special edition Crown Royal bottles. We don't need a line of Hallmark cards or 10% off collard greens. Don't try.
Well, I don't know. I've seen that one. Don't try to improve it, take it over, or make it more inclusive. In other words, don't treat Juneteenth like you treat Black music, Black art, or Black neighborhoods. Juneteenth is not the cookout. Cookout invitations are still invite only. The last edition of the Regional Executive, Administrative, and Legislative Newsletter for the International Council for Cookout Arts and Sciences, aka
Real Knickers,
announced a moratorium on cookout invitations until the first annual celebration of Reparations Day.
Here.
The 10 Juneteenth Commandments. As a white person, you may not have heard about the 10 principles of Juneteenth, but trust me, they're a thing in the Black community. They were developed in the late 1890s by Reverend Samuel Aloysius Lovelace, best known as the first clergyman to pray until the food got cold. Thou shalt not have any holidays before Juneteenth. Juneteenth is the most American holiday. The only reason anyone would be against it is if they were still lamenting over the loss of slavery. So everyone with a Confederate flag.
Yeah.
Plus, when those slave owners sent the Declaration of Independence to King George, most of America, black people, women, Native Americans, white people who didn't own land, were not included in the all men are created equal part.
Absolutely.
2, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. No calling the police, just for this one day. Don't be afraid when a black person is cooking out in the park or walking around existing. This day is about freedom, remember? Number 3, thou shalt not white-splain. Telling us how you already knew about Juneteenth doesn't mean anything. You're supposed to know. Black people know about Columbus Day, St. Patrick's Day, and President's Day, but we don't brag about it.
Shit, people.
Number 4, thou shalt not take the Juneteenth's name in vain. No one needs your input. Perhaps the best thing you can do to honor Juneteenth is to keep its name out of your mouth. This thing existed without you for a century and a half. Take this, for instance. San Jose Sharks Juneteenth tweet. Oh my God. Celebrate freedom. And there's a lineup of fists of different colors and a logo of the shark biting the chain. Absolutely no one asked for that.
Nobody.
Number 5, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's anything. Don't ask a black person for anything on Juneteenth. Leading the Juneteenth celebration at work is not part of Keisha in accountant's job description. Plus, it's kind of racist. Would you ask your Native American friend to give a talk on Thanksgiving or Columbus Day or Independence Day? Also, there is this thing called Google. 6, remember Juneteenth and keep it holy. Don't disrespect Juneteenth by wearing kente cloth or cornrows. And please don't attempt to celebrate by singing slave songs. Negro spirituals are not made for Caucasian vocal cords or acoustic guitars.
They're not made for Negro vocals. That's just my opinion.
We don't need a Juneteenth anthem. Juvenile, Frankie Beverly, and Mays already handled this. Number 7, lean not into thine own understanding. You don't have to teach anyone about this holiday. If they're black, they don't need it. If they're white, I'm sure they'll get by like their kinfolk did for the first 155 years they didn't know about the holiday. If they're any other person of color, they rolled their eyes and said, what does this motherfucker want now? When they spotted you heading towards This is unnecessary. And there's a clip of an article. Juneteenth can be celebrated in many ways. We encourage you to find a virtual event or one in your neighborhood. Host your own backyard party. Prepare some traditional foods like strawberry/red soda and watermelon, barbecue meats, and prepare other soul food items like collard greens and cornbread. Support Black-owned businesses. Visit an exhibit or museum dedicated to Black culture, or help make Juneteenth a national holiday by signing Opal Lee's
That's already done.
Again, let me reiterate, this is unnecessary. Number 8, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's blackness. Again, Juneteenth is not the cookout. You don't get a one-day pass to use the N-word or to wear blackface on Juneteenth. If you regularly use the N-word, take a day off. Number 9, thou shalt not steal. This includes labor, land, wealth, elections, opportunity, education, due process under the law, the right to not be murdered by police officers, voting rights, etc. I'm just saying, try something new. Number 10, thou shalt not purchase gifts.
No. It says neighbors. Thou shalt purchase gifts.
Just kidding. I know you don't have any. There you have it. Now you can celebrate Juneteenth like a true American. And if you feel the urge to switch something up, hold it in your mouth and think of the lyrics to the Juneteenth carols. Back that ass up.
Listen, there's a couple of things here that to me is wishful thinking.
No,
this will be capitalized in the capitalist system. Trust me, someone's gonna make cards, someone's gonna do all kinds of stuff about Juneteenth. We literally just saw a member of our group, Adequate, rocking a Juneteenth t-shirt. Listen, that's going to happen here.
I have a question.
Well, hey, if it's a Black-owned business, I don't mind it so much.
Exactly.
Right.
Get your money. Get your money. What's the other thing that I saw on here that I thought it's just not this is not gonna happen. The white splaining.
Oh God,
Y'all can forget. It's already happening.
Of course,
It's already happening. I've been seeing
no way
on
around.
Twitter.
No way around that one.
Yeah, it's already been happening. So other than those two things, I think that was hilarious. But this is what I just want to say. I want to make this very clear at the start of this, that anything that my take on this is a nuanced one. It is not going at the people that worked and got petitions and did all of that to make this day a thing. Who don't like a day off? How racist must you be if you don't like black people so much that you don't like the day off from your employer, right? And I also believe that as a community, we should be able to work on many different things at once.
Right.
Many different things at once of varying importance. So my issue is not them.
No.
My issue is the system. As I mentioned previously, use this analogy for something else, that constantly wants to give us frosting without the cake.
Mm-hmm.
They have this inability to function when it comes to doing something that we asked, demanded that you do all last year and before the last year. All last year, though, in them streets, you saw people talking about police reform and police reform now.
Mm-hmm.
This is a thing, a problem that we've had in this country since we've been here, since cops was cops.
yeah.
Come on, like for those of you, I get it. I'm older than maybe a lot of the people here that's listening to the show. But I remember these same conversations being had with Rodney King.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, so we keep going round and 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 round with this. And what I don't want them to use Juneteenth for is what they're actually going to use Juneteenth for. They're going to use it as them not solving a problem, but you're trying to hold it up like they solved the problem, and then tell us to be patient for everything else.
Yeah, there's definitely a problem within white society of wanting to constantly focus on the progress as opposed to what's left to do.
Yeah,
right.
It's like someone climbing a mountain and they keep looking back. See how high we got? See how high we got? You know, the sun is way the hell up there, but we're gonna keep looking back. See how far we came up this mountain?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know what? No one remembers the person that went halfway up Everest and went back down.
Right.
You know, and so
that's my issue.
So what, like some of these Republicans have voted against it. Thomas Massey, this is my favorite. It will create confusion and push Americans to pick between those 2 days for their independence based on their racial.
They're not even on the same day. What is he talking about?
Yo, they're not even the same month.
No. Well, the thing is, it's like, well, here's the thing. We have Memorial Day,
right?
And we have Veterans Day.
Yeah.
And they're different, and people are confused about which one means, and we still have both.
Yeah.
No one's saying to throw one of them back because we was, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, and this idea, and especially it's like, and of course the shot isn't at all Americans, it's at us. Well, like, we're too fucking dumb to figure out, you know,
right.
Clearly
the other.
Right.
Clearly we can't possibly delineate between the two.
Well, hold up now. See, now I'm having some cognitive dissonance because I get on this show every week and say people are dumb. So I don't know if I can listen. I'm just saying.
There's a means to that end, though.
It is.
Well, yeah, and again, you know what? As you said a little bit ago, you know, on July 4th, those words were brilliant, but they did not apply to like 75% of the population.
No,
correct.
Listen, if there was any cookouts happening on July 4th, 1776, guess who was serving there for free?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so Tracy Harris, from, you know, formerly of the Atheist Experience, you know, she's been talking really eloquently about this of late, and she's like, you know, that document, for as brilliant as it is, it didn't grant us those things. We were actually withheld those things, and we had to fight for them. So and you know, and I can't remember who it was that said it, but it was basically the idea that, you know, some former slave that had said, I think that said, you know, you can't give me rights. All you can do is take them away or stop taking them away.
Yeah.
But those rights were mine all along.
Yeah.
But it's like I keep, and particularly conservatives, they just want to keep being patted on the back that they're less oppressive than they used to be.
Yeah.
As if somehow we're like, well, come on, you're okay. You went from being third-class citizens to second-class citizens. Come on, that's good enough, isn't it?
It's so funny, Joe, because this is the equivalent, right, of somebody kidnapped you and held you hostage in their basement for a long time, and then they let you go, and they wanted to be patted on the back for letting you go.
Mm-hmm. Well, they didn't even let you go. They let you out of the basement, and now you're in the
right.
You get to walk around the living room. You can get to use a refrigerator occasionally, and I won't always hit you when you do it.
For a lot of you who don't understand what was happening around during that time after the so-called Emancipation Proclamation was penned, 2 years went by. There were still people in chains, in slavery, still their immediate reality did not change. And for a lot of places, it didn't change until the Union Army came in.
Right.
Till they marched in. Because before that, they was like, free slaves, make us.
Right.
Make us. So there was always, this is the thing that bothers me the most. There has always been, and there still is today, a bunch of resistance to anything that has to do with us. When you start thinking about the fact that why did you get slaves in the first place, dude? Why didn't you just do your own work?
Mm-hmm.
You could have literally built the country up on your own. It would have took a little longer, maybe.
Yeah.
But you could have did that shit on your own. You didn't have to have slaves. So you initiated the act. You all of a sudden deciding after a war, mind you, a war that killed more Americans than any other war in the history of this country. It took that for y'all to say, fine, then you're free.
Right.
Sort of,
kind of, except for the convicted felon.
That's right. Well, even there, it took another 100 years of sharecropping and black codes and Jim Crow. And you think about this, right after emancipation, after the war was over and the rest of us were actually freed, sort of, that there was a surge in it was a huge number of black people in Congress. Why? Because a lot of the southern states actually had a majority black population.
Right.
And of course, that was terrifying to all the white people who just previously owned all those black people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when the black codes came in, and all this Jim Crow and all that. So basically, and then basically dropped away. So so you think of it. So it's 250 years of slavery, and then 100 years of basically continuing to find ways to steal or destroy our wealth.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why black activists, not universally, but there's been a tendency toward leftism and even socialism. It's because, when you made us a commodity, and then when we tried to exploit our own wealth, you literally took it away from us,
right?
Or just flat out destroyed it,
right?
And you told us capitalism is not for you.
Yeah,
basically. And now you want to sell us capitalism, like it's this cure-all. But listen, I read history. I remember reading that we were a commodity.
Yeah.
Under capitalism. So I mean,
although this is one of the reasons one of the big differences I have with my white friends who are further to the left than me, who are very anti-capitalist. I'm like, well, wait a second. Black people are just starting to become capitalist. And now I got white people trying to get rid of it? No, wait a minute. We haven't had our chance yet.
Look, it's so funny because when you locked us out of the ability to accumulate generational wealth, and we have the hardest time now, even in these discussions, trying to explain to people who understand this with every other situation, that there is no present that's independent of the past. The reason why things are the way they are today is because of things that happened yesterday.
In every situation.
In every situation, they understand that, except for this. In every other situation, they know that, in insurance, well, what did you do before this? What's your past history? In every other situation, they understand that, except for this. because with this they want to act like, oh, this clean slate, mulligan, timeout. No.
Hey, well, Landon, think about this. When there's a video of a police officer brutalizing us or shooting us or whatever.
Oh,
first question: what happened before the video? What happened before?
Yeah.
I don't like there's the guy who just got indicted, and that's why all those officers quit the rapid action force because they're angry for being held accountable. Well, what happened before? It doesn't matter. He knocked her down from behind and then smacked her in the face.
Right.
It doesn't matter what she was doing before because none of those actions are justified. If she had just stabbed somebody, if she just stabbed a cop, that still wouldn't have been justifiable.
It's not your job to punish her.
Right.
That's the job of the courts.
Right.
Your job is to collect her and get her ready for the courts.
Exactly.
But that seems to be lost on them. And again, like don't this idea that some that run the system have that we're stupid. It's got to stop because we're not. Every time you push back on stuff like this, and we see the clear contradiction, don't you realize you're confirming everything we said previously? Every time you do, even from a perspective of you wanting to win an argument, every single time something takes place and we see the contradiction, we see how ad hoc your reasoning is as it's case by case, and only in the cases where it benefits you to have that position. We see you. We see you.
Yep.
And you really just prove what we already said. That's it. They're like, listen, the system is what the system is.
Exactly.
It was this system before all of us here was born.
Yep.
And all we're simply asking is, if you're true about what you're saying, that you want everybody to embrace this place and feel like this place is home and feel like this place is here for the benefit of all, to protect everybody here, there are things you have to address. You broke bones. Even when those bones healed, they didn't set right. And they're arthritic. Every time it's cold or every time it rains, we feel the pain. Every time we see the police on video, once again, beating down on a brother or sister for no good reason that was warranted for this, we feel the pain of that broken bone every single time. They don't want to acknowledge it, and every time they don't want to. The only time they want to acknowledge the past is when they can crow about it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, Abraham Lincoln,
Yeah.
George Washington. The only time they want to acknowledge the past.
Well, the funny thing about Lincoln, and right wingers will use Lincoln on both sides, depending on what they're trying to do. When they want to crow about progress, they'll bring up Lincoln. When they want to keep us down, they'll point out that Lincoln didn't think we were equal human beings. You know, so which is it? Was he a great emancipator, or was he a racist, or both? You know, maybe the truth is both.
Yeah, I'll give you both. Yeah, a little bit of both.
They do the same thing with Martin Luther King. The exact same thing. You know, they don't want to quote the things. I remember I was watching this video where it was clearly like it was somebody on the right, and there was a black guy, and they was having this debate, and the guy on the right, quick to quote the whole judge people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin type thing, right? The black guy said, well, how come you won't quote the other stuff he said about black empowerment, all the stuff that he said about the moderate, like the white moderate? Like, you won't quote any of that other stuff. You won't quote what he said about rioting. You won't quote none of that. But you always quote that one right there. That shows how disingenuous, and it shows that you're acting in bad faith. You're literally arguing in bad faith, and we can see it.
Yeah,
we can see it.
Well, another great example of that is when they, you know, and again, this comes from the right wing, that they want us to feel when we say that, you know, July 4th isn't really for us, or that we don't necessarily know, we don't all feel that it's good for us.
Right.
You know, and they'll do the thing, well, you know, would we be better off in Africa where things are all screwed up? And so, like, we should be happy to have that our great grandmothers were raped and all this kind of stuff. But the thing is, what they miss is that, again, not looking at the whole picture. Well, why is Africa fucked up? Well, Africa's fucked up because Europeans went there and colonized it and purposely drew borders that didn't meet up with the tribal borders. They purposely put people that didn't get along together in the same countries so that they could keep them fighting with one another while they could go and rob all the resources.
Yep.
Because Africa is actually the most resource-rich continent on Earth.
Yep. Oh, yeah, trust me, and the world knows it. All the world knows it. It's literally been
That's why they all going in.
That's why they all going. It's been propping up all of Europe, the United States. It's been those resources prop everybody else up. And it's funny that you say that too, Joe, because when they say stuff like, "Oh, would it be better if you've been back over in Africa?" This comes from someone who clearly doesn't have an understanding of the history of that place, the many empires, civilizations that place had over there. Secondly, if this was so great, why'd you have to capture people to bring them over here? Why didn't they just volunteer to go, yo, we about to go do this? Okay, let's go. So don't act like you did us a fucking favor. Fuck out of here.
Along those lines, so here's what they do sometimes. Is they'll point out that in some cases, not all the slaves were captured by Europeans. In some cases,
I love that.
They were sold by black leaders. But here's the thing: they'll say, "Oh, you sold your own people." No, we didn't. Nope. No, people of one tribe sold
people of another tribe,
prisoners from other tribes, just like Europeans did for thousands of years.
Thank you.
So you have a war, you capture people, they become slaves, and they become a commodity. And that's not a good thing, but it's no different than what happened in Europe.
Literally, a lot of the stuff that happened in Africa around that time that predate all of that is almost similar to what's happened in Europe. It's just that the racism, the white supremacy, and the bad faith is what colors it different. Right. Because the English and the Irish were beefing, and none of them said, "My white brother." None of them said that. None of them said that. There was no difference between them, and the different tribes. They call them these are nations. Right. These are different nations who don't have the connection with another nation's culture, religious background, many times, language.
Yep.
None of that stuff. So what they're trying to do is take today's paradigm that came as a result of the shit they did.
Yes, exactly.
And apply that to back then. The reason there's a black community is because
out of necessity.
It was out of necessity. There was when they start bringing us over here, they brought us from many different tribes.
Yep.
Many different tribes all along the West Coast and partially within in the center. They did that from these different tribes. And we came over here, then they stripped those cultural customs, traditions, languages, religious practices, everything that made us who and what we were as individual peoples. And then they filled us up with their stuff, and along with the experiences that we had here in this country, and they created something new.
Yeah,
they created something new. So what did we have to hold on to? What was the thing that galvanized us as a community? We were all being treated the same.
Right.
We were all being abused the same way.
Well, this is the reason that I was trying to explain to somebody who didn't understand. Well, you hear this. You've all heard this a ton of times. Well, why is it okay to have black pride, but you can't have white pride?
Because whiteness is a creation from the people that participate in it.
Right.
Right.
As opposed to where, like you said, a black identity wasn't something we chose. It was something thrust on us.
All we had.
They created it and forced it on us. And then when we embraced it, now they got mad.
Yep.
Right.
Well, but the thing is that, like you said, Irish and English, they don't identify as the same people, and Greek and Roman and Italian. No, they're all separate people. And when you said something you said was very important, that like in some cases, I was talking to somebody about genealogy and how we hit that wall of around 1860, 1870, and we lose everything. And people would say, "Oh well, things were lost in wars." I'm like, yeah. But that's the difference, though, is our history wasn't lost; it was stolen. It was erased.
Yeah.
Purposely. There's a huge difference between collateral damage and intentional damage.
Exactly. They did not want us speaking any of those languages from the various different tribes. They did not want us worshiping the deities from that. They did not want us holding on to any societal philosophies that those original nations that we come from had. Why? Because it's a lot easier to control the people if you can control how and what they think. So they made it so that at first your ass couldn't read, and they filled you up. Anything you needed to know about life, about what your station was, about how things were meant to be, came from out of the mouths of the people that were abusing you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I've said this, and I know I have a cousin that hates when I say this, but it's just the truth. There were no niggas before 1619. Right. Niggas are a creation of the United States.
X.
We were different tribal nation names, customs, all dress, all of that stuff. We had everything that all these other groups, demographics, and cultures had. We had all of that, and it was taken away purposely to make us easier to control. And the issue is now, after you didn't broke our wings, you accuse us of not being able to fly. That's what's going on. After all that happened, and we know this is the history. That's the other thing that pissed me off too. So, for how long have they kept a lot of this knowledge about the past and about all of the things that happened from us? And those of us that knew it, passed it down from generation to generation, wasn't allowed to talk about it in the schools and classes, none of that shit. We have only been able to have these sort of conversations about our perspective in history, what rung on the ladder we were at and how we saw things from our. We've only been able to talk about that for a few decades. And look what they do. Look what they do. The pushback, the whole, oh, you can't teach this in class, even to things that aren't really being taught in a class, at least on the elementary school level. Critical race theory is not being taught.
No,
it's not being taught. And this is up in the colleges, the institution. Right. But they went. Look how wild they went. I've watched them on these news programs talking about some stuff that I don't even know what the hell. What? They're not teaching that.
Well, and think about it, and think about what it really is. You know, it's teaching history, filling in the gaps that were created intentionally.
Yeah,
right.
And the same people that are telling us that the 1619 project, we shouldn't be doing this, we shouldn't be doing CRT, are the same ones that are hugging that Confederate flag.
Yes,
the Confederacy existed for 5 years.
Right.
I've had diabetes longer than that.
I've had high blood pressure longer than that. They talking about,
God.
I'm tired of people who can't get over. The people who can't get over losing slaves are getting mad at us that we can't get over it being slaves.
Right.
And the thing that's crazy about it, if you wanted us to come even close to not seeing that in the same way that we still see it now, address it. You don't want to address it. You want to minimize it. You want to make it so that we don't even talk about it except for in a very ancillary way. And then get mad when we push back. Like, no, you don't get to erase us. You don't get to erase us.
Same thing happened with the Native Americans. They actually took children from the Native indigenous people, put them in white Christian schools, taught them white Christianity, and told them to forget their culture, forget their traditions, and sent them back with no knowledge of who they were.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. How it is the exact same thing they did when what you think happens if, like, say, the first generation of Africans that was brought over here, they had children. In a lot of these cases, the children were snatched and sold to different plantations. What do you think happens to that child? You think that they have some surrogate teacher over there that's going to teach them the cultural relevancy of what they had? No, they're going to fill them up with everything they want them to know to better be able to control them.
Yeah. What's really kind of funny, I just got reminded of something I saw recently. It was talking about how there was this one settler, child that the indigenous tribe, there was a dispute between the settlers, and there was an attack, and they basically took the children and raised them. So then this woman actually grew up, with the indigenous people, and then eventually left later on. But she kind of identified with them because she grew up with them.
Right.
And just think about the hardship of everything she went through and how terrible this was. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. That was like isolated incidents around the world, as opposed to organized by the fucking government.
Right.
Yeah. It's sad because a lot of the resistance that we'll see, there's a segment of the population of Black people in this country that are resistant to a lot of it too, and it's heartbreaking because I know why. They maybe they can't see it, but the reality of the situation is they were taught to view things a certain type of way, and they've been viewing it that way for the longest time, and it's hard. I get it, it's hard, but these people are then used by those who don't have our best interests at heart, and they put them out there on all kinds of social media platforms, media, news, whatever, to say their talking points so that they can hide behind them as a bullet shield and say, I'm not racist. You got Black people that don't. I shared it with SPJ and my sister Marissa and Adequate. This kind of an interview between this Black woman, Keisha, I forgot her last name, and Roland Martin. And it is so obvious that these people, they have overly identified with a certain way of seeing this country, seeing their own people, and seeing everybody else. Now, some of these people, this is a grift. We talked about this, Joe. You and I talked about this before. This is a grift where they are utilizing their Black face. This doesn't make it any less insidious, by the way, but they're using their brown faces to get up there and say these things because they think they're going to get a bag. Somebody's going to, and more than likely, I mean, I don't know what the percentage is, but if you're articulate enough, if you're self-denial enough, you present yourself that enough, someone will grab you on one of these platforms that has an invested interest in keeping the status quo the way it is, and have you get up there and say something, and they might even pay you for it.
I'm looking at you, Stacey Dash.
I'm looking at you, Dominant Silk.
Looking at you, Candace Owen.
Yeah. And I started seeing more and more of this, and I start seeing younger and younger now. I saw this 18-year-old dude, CJ Pearson. Same. He's 18.
And what the fuck does he know? He's 18. He hasn't experienced all this shit. But here's one thing I want to say. You know what? They always want to go off about black on black crime. The people we're talking about, that's the real black on black crime.
Yeah, facts. That's the people that really have no they don't have the best interest of their folks. They only care about themselves. You know, a lot of the times the shit, I grew up in crime-ridden area, right? SPJ did as well. So it was always the same people. It's like a subculture. I've mentioned that before. It's a subculture. It's always the same people. But even with them, a lot of stuff they did, they felt like they had to do. Well, how else am I going to get it? I don't feel like I have any other options. Now they did, but they didn't know about them. And you not knowing about the options is the same as you not having them, right? Basically. So they went out and they did these things. These people have an option. You don't have to get on Fox News or Newsmax or any of them other spots and run your mouth and try to undermine large segments of the Black community. You don't have to do that.
There have always been collaborators.
Always.
I think we should call them the Vichy Black. For anyone that doesn't know, isn't familiar with World War II history, the Vichy government was the collaborative government of the French after France was captured by the Germans, and these people basically said, "Well, we're part of the German Empire now. You know, we'll go along and get along." You know?
Yes. That is exactly. I didn't even thought about bringing that connection together, but that's exactly what that is. Yeah. We're part, because even when I heard her say, not her, Candace Owens, and the tweet said, I won't be celebrating Juneteenth. I'm celebrating July 4th because I'm American. Okay.
You didn't want her anyway.
As if there was any actual connection.
Can you please tell me?
That forces you to choose.
I need somebody to explain to me. Was there a deluge of cookout invitations given Juneteenth? I'm pretty sure. I don't think that's the case.
Are there a huge swath of false Americans?
Right. Oh, I guess.
I mean, apparently.
I guess.
It must exist.
I'm American. So by that means she doesn't celebrate St. Patty's Day.
Right.
She don't celebrate right.
Even though
Valentine's Day.
Even though Owens is an Irish name.
Yeah, facts. Facts. I mean, I just think it's silly, but it's also very revealing. Like you could tell people to have resentment and animus towards anything Black related. People that I always call them, they're the ones that are trying to escape the darkness, right? They're trying to escape. They don't want to be a part of this. Don't want to be counted amongst this. They want to be one of the good Negroes, right? As they said, one of the good Negroes. I'll rock the boat. I don't create a. I even saw an interview, and this is the last time I mentioned her name. I was about to call her name, but I saw this one. She was in this debate with somebody else where she was explaining the situation that happened to her. When she was called, you called her and you made all these threats to her when she was at that school, and she went out of her way to say, "I wasn't a victim. I wasn't this. I wasn't that." But she had all these caveats, and really, I didn't even want anything to happen to these people. And then all of this stuff. If you don't look like a collaborator, I don't know who else does. Like they literally called you and threatened your life, talked all kinds of craziness to you, and even if they were drunk, it doesn't matter. They called you and violated you with threats and shit like that, and you're going out of your way. You know damn well if some Black group had called her with threats, that was the opposite of her political opinion, that would be all you would have saw on Twitter. And this has been the worst thing ever. And they can't handle dissent. And look how they attack on their own and all this other shit like that. But with this, you acquiesce.
Well, what have I said before? Black police showing out for the white cop.
White cop, exactly. And it's so fucking obvious. You know, one thing, Quentin Tarantino, a lot of people criticize Quentin Tarantino, and there are things he could be criticized about. I gotta say though, the role Samuel Jackson played as Steven was so on the nose that I'm appreciative of that, because these examples need to be shown sometime. This is how some of y'all look to us. In 2021, it's not exactly the same, right? It's close as fuck. Y'all look like Steven. Y'all look like Steven.
You know, something you said before about there's that segment of the Black population that just doesn't see it, you know, for one reason or another. Either willful ignorance that they, you know, have their head in the stand, or maybe they're privileged enough that it doesn't affect them.
Right.
You know, the thing is that here's what I try to explain to friends of mine who have seen my transformation over the past few years, and they don't understand it. And I said, that's the thing. I grew up with those blinders, and I was told all the buzz terms and all this kind of stuff,
right?
And my life experience beat that out.
Right,
because you know, I think you saw my post on Facebook a couple of years ago when I got my current car. You know, I now I'm, you know, I won't say I'm wealthy, but I'm you know, doing better than average. You know, I got some means. When I went to go buy this car, and I'm trying cars out, and the fucking cop, like, who's in front of me at a light, pulls over to the side, gets behind me, follows me.
I remember this.
And he was about to pull me over, and I kind of realized where I was at. I was right at the border of another town, so I turned the corner instead of pulling over into McDonald's like I was originally going to do. And just for anyone who thought that maybe it was in my head, he stopped in the middle of the intersection trying to decide if he could catch me before I crossed the line. There was no fucking way that he wasn't thinking of pulling me over.
Yeah, he was.
I'm test driving cars. I'm in a Chrysler 300. You know, sticker price in that car is like $40,000.
Right.
This is not, you know, so it's not like I was in some jalopy or whatever. You know, and I wasn't in an Escalade or any you know. But he just looked in his rearview mirror and saw the curly hair.
That's it.
And that was it.
That was it. That's it. What are you doing with that car?
Exactly. I got stopped in that same town 30 years earlier, 20 some odd, about 25 years earlier. And a cop asked me what I was doing in that neighborhood. and I was on a county road. I wasn't in the neighborhood. I was on a road.
So when he
in this neighborhood?
He was really asking you, what you doing outside?
Right. That's right. And here's the thing. It wasn't like this was a well-off community. If I was in Deal or El Baron, those are like wealthiest communities in the country.
Gated.
And, right. I'm driving around in some car that doesn't fit the neighborhood. Okay. But, here I was. This is Podunk. This is one of the Podunk towns here in New Jersey. These are the people who just escaped the trailer park. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is low-income white people.
Right.
So I wasn't, it wasn't,
you weren't good enough to be there either.
I wasn't good enough. So I pulled over for a headlight out. What are you doing in this neighborhood? And when I told him I was visiting a friend, he didn't believe me. And I gave him her name, and he didn't believe me. And I gave her her address, and he didn't believe me. I gave her a phone number. He didn't believe me. I described the fucking house, and it was an unusual house because they had an arboretum attached to the house.
Mm-hmm.
And he still didn't believe me. And then I gave him directions to the house. And he finally backed off.
Wow. Man, it's one of these things, man, that you take that experience you had right there and you multiply that by millions. And then they wonder why we feel the way we feel. So when the only thing you offer us is another day for y'all to get off too.
Right.
Think of the irony of that.
Yeah, I feel like I've been thinking about this for the last couple of days about how to approach the conversation about this without stepping on the people that really worked hard to get this done, because I don't want to step on them. But I kind of feel like I'm like Heimdall. So every time the Asgardians go out, win a battle, they come back home and they party and they get drunk and they eat and they have a good time to celebrate that win. But Heimdall does not. He goes back to his post, because at any moment, a frost giant, some orcs, or whatever might come across and try some bullshit, and he got to ring the alarm. I feel like there's got to be those of us that say, yo, that's cool, but we didn't ask you for that in large numbers. We asked you for this was the immediate concern. Let's see. You said when they tried to do the minimum wage thing, which for those who don't know, even though that's not specifically a black thing, there's we are disproportionately represented in those type of jobs. So that would have helped us out a lot. You went out and can't do that. No. Okay, what about voting right? Can you make sure, you see over here trying to do things and mess with our voting? No, we can't do that. Well, infrastructure. Well, for those of you who don't know, even though that's not specifically a black thing, we typically are underrepresented in areas that could use the infrastructure built up, right? No, we can't do that. Well, what about Right. Like, nope. Reparations. How about that? Come on, you guys got to be kidding. So basically, you can't do that. But it was real easy for you to give us a day off and give yourself a day off, basically.
Well, here's the thing. You said about reparations too. And we talked about this before. Mm-hmm. Even my far left friends, people that are like, I know people that are saying that we should have, the universal basic income. Everyone should get $1,000 a month or whatever the amount.
Yes.
And they're still like, I don't know about reparations. That seems really hard. Really, you're gonna send a check to everybody every month for no fucking reason, but you can't give one targeted for
47 million people
for 350 years of theft of wealth.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Nope. I've talked to those type of leftists as well. And the cognitive dissonance is jarring. It's like you're down with UBI, but you can see how that would work, but you can't see how this other thing. You're talking about literally everybody, 350 million people in this country would get that. Or maybe, okay, the numbers are a little skewed because it probably wouldn't be people that's under a certain age, like the kids, they probably wouldn't get it. So you subtract some of those numbers, but that's still considerably more people than there are a number of black people in this country.
Yeah, it's about 280 million, yeah.
Yeah, there's only 47 million of us here.
Right.
You can't see how that would work, huh? Not at all.
Oh, that's impossible.
And the other thing that's crazy about that too, Joe. So one of the things I've seen is them attempt to make the perfect the enemy of the good when it comes to that conversation. I've seen them say things such as, how could you calculate it? I mean, what happened was so bad. How could you? That's that hustle. That's that bullshit. What happened was so bad. How could you put a price tag on that? Here's the thing about it. When I am late on a bill and the bill collector call me and I fuck up and answer the phone, you know one of the things, the options that they give me? Well, can you put something on it?
Right.
Can you imagine the overall feeling for the people in this country, Black people who specifically have felt underrepresented, not cared about? In fact, our backs feel like they're against the wall all of the time. Can you imagine how that would alleviate a whole bunch of those and those bad feelings that a lot of us have about this country?
Sure.
By just putting something on it.
Well, the funny thing about too, this idea that, well, how can we calculate it? If we go out and I, through my negligence, cause you to get a permanent injury to where you can't work anymore, actuaries will calculate what your future value is, and they will, and then I will owe you that much, and maybe with a multiplier even for your pain and suffering, and all that. We calculate. We do this shit all the time, all the fucking time.
These are just excuses, man. And then the other thing about I've heard too. Oh well, there are a significant amount of white Americans who wouldn't want to pay for that. I always have two responses for that. My first response is, you think Black people wanted to pay all them years for a society that didn't even give us full access to it? We still paid. You think that the people that are against American involvement in any sort of global conflict across the world, they still pay their taxes that go to the military?
Yeah.
Also, we not talking to you. We talking to the government.
well, here's the thing. That's the irony of it, is that those Black people who have been successful through their taxes will actually end up partially paying for reparations for their own ancestors.
Right.
That's a fact.
Plus the fact that it's not just, as you know, the theft didn't end at slavery.
No.
It kept going in many other ways.
And that's what they want to do. That's why they want to keep the conversation in that area there, because they want to pretend and have everybody think this is about narrative framing, myth crafting, right? They want to pretend that once that Emancipation Proclamation came through, everything was all right with the world and everything was equal. They don't want to talk about that century and a half of the utter bullshit they went through to get us to the point where the average Black family net worth is so much less than the average white family net worth. They don't want to talk about that period of time that contributed to that, because guess what? Not only is a lot of that still happening now, people that's my age, I'm only a few years. I was born a few years after they signed one of them damn civil rights bills. Right. So you're not gonna sit here and tell me that was 400 years ago. I mean, granted, we joke around about me being 1,500 years old, but come on.
Right. We can be like this. The Fair Housing Act was passed in 1970. I was 2. My oldest sibling was 20 by that point.
Right. Yeah, I was 2 as well. Listen, I got to tell you, when I was a kid, my mom, when we used to go downtown, she made it her business to show us, as we was walking past them, all the stores and the shops and the businesses that had white-only signs, or where they had to go in around the back. So from the time I was a kid, she showed me this because she felt like y'all need to know that no matter what else may change or shift, that these things happened here.
Yeah.
Because she knew they would try to erase that shit and make it seem like it didn't happen.
Well, I told you, my cousin Carrie that lives here in town, she knew our great-great-grandfather, Jack Daniels, no relation. He was born into slavery in 1845, died in 1957. So there's people living today who knew people who, there's at least one person, actually, because some of my other relatives knew him as well. So there are people living today that knew people who had been enslaved. And there's each people that are alive today. That's how recent.
Yeah, it's not as far back as a lot of y'all want to think, but it's still a long period of time. And I always say to them, like, so we're going to keep doing this? We're going to keep doing this. They're going to keep doing these ancillary things that may make us feel good in the moment, but not address the actual issues that we are telling you need to be addressed. So how much longer are we going to do it? Another 50 years? We're going to do it another 100 years. We're going to go for another 400, Is that what we're going to do? Because at a certain point, it becomes obvious that these are stalling tactics. This is a way for someone to say, look at the progress. You have a whole day. We have commemorated the ending of slavery. Come on, guys.
This is why they get go, why are black people so angry? It's like, because these half measures. We're tired of fucking half measures.
Yeah.
That's what I told people, because the people who try to say that it's just a class issue, that this race isn't an issue. And I keep pointing out again, I got means and I still get fucked with.
Right.
It doesn't help me.
What did we say last time?
That ignores the fact that race contributed to the class issue.
Exactly.
Right.
That the reason why we're in that's it. The reason why a lot of us are in that economic class. Come on, tell the truth and shame the devil. If society locks you out of access to generational wealth, then the odds are that the vast majority of your demographic will not have generational wealth. And
if you're telling me, all right, we're gonna draw this imaginary line, and on the inside of this line, we're not going to allow black people to get loans,
right,
to be able to get these houses.
Right.
Now, because we have this line and these buildings happen to be in the same general vicinity, we can make that a school district. And schools, what are we going to do to fund schools? Okay, property taxes from the area are going to fund the schools.
Right.
Well, if my school has a higher budget, all other things being equal, I am going to have a better opportunity to have success.
I have my kids have success going to school in that area.
And by the same token, we're funding the police and fire that way.
Yes.
The police and fire are more cooperative in areas where where money is bigger.
Yeah.
And not as much of an occupying army.
Right. And this is the reason you'll see videos of police interactions in those areas where the citizens are acting like citizens and telling the police where to get off. Like, yo, you can't come through here, but that we're not doing that, man. Nobody do nothing. Go away, and the police go away. Right.
A lot of affluent communities have rules that the police have to live in the community.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then you go to Ferguson, which was like 97% black, and there's like 3 black officers out of like 150.
Yeah.
Or some, I don't know the exact number, but it's like that. It's some huge imbalance.
Right.
None of the cops are for our local, so they don't give. So they have no vested interest in the community. They don't care. They are an occupying force.
They're an occupying force, and
you know how much harder it is for somebody to drum up an interest in an area that they're not from.
In any
aspect of life.
Yeah. It's they don't know about that alleyway over there where we used to shoot dice. So
I don't give a fuck about.
They don't know nothing about it. That's not their.
I don't care what happens in Pensacola.
I'm doing my job to go home, and then when I go home to a neighborhood outside the neighborhood, I don't think about that neighborhood until I'm back on the clock again. That's just how it is. That's human nature for real.
Right.
And it's one of these things where, like I said, man, we see these disparities, and people tend to think that we stupid. Like we don't see it. Like they'll blame you for shit. Like they'll say, why are so many black people in jail? When you over police,
I'll be right back.
When you over police, and then they're liable to get more time for the same crime that somebody that's in a different demographic would get. Does that explain to you in the least little bit of way that this is a self-fulfilling prophecy?
Oh yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It goes, it goes a long way. We're policed more, arrested more, charged more, convicted more, sentenced longer, and denied parole more often. So that's just math. That's just math. Residence time.
It's math.
Even though we commit crimes, according to the FBI, at about the same rate.
Yeah. You know how many times I've pulled them FBI stats out because people will abuse them. Yeah. People abuse those stats all the time. We talked about this on the show before about how 90% of black people that are murdered by other black people.
Check.
Like we talk about that, how they always bring that number up to 90%. Blah blah blah. But when you look at the actual percentage of people that are arrested for murder in the black community, it's very small. In the United States, it's very small.
Yeah.
But that number doesn't serve their narrative. So
no, of course it doesn't. Why would we bring that up?
it's one of them things. So to be clear, none of us on this show are against Juneteenth, us having a day commemorating the end of slavery. It should have been happened.
Oh, and to be even more transparent, I'm not even going to throw out the whole what else? I'm not going to throw that out because of what you said earlier. Like the people that fought for this, like I'm not even going to throw that narrative out there, though I understand the narrative.
Me too. I get it.
I'm not going to throw it out there because we say this often. You celebrate all victories. It doesn't mean that you become blind to the issues that still exist.
Exactly.
Well, it would be like you go to the playoffs and you win the first game.
Right.
Like, oh, this is
we're good. Yeah, we're good.
We're going home.
We're good. We celebrate all night, and then the next game, nobody can actually play because everybody's hungover from the night before.
Yeah, it's a
mess, and if you think about what happened in the 60s, they killed the All-Stars.
Yes. Yeah. They killed all the All-Stars. And then it's a one thing too. You can't. It's hard to have me convinced that a lot of this stuff wasn't planned because it just makes sense. And if you consider that you're going against somebody and it's a war, what do you do in a war? Right? In a war, you take out the leaders. You can take the leaders out, and if you feel like it will destabilize all of the progress in the organizations and the progress that those organizations make, it will destabilize it, right? Yeah. So it's not a coincidence, and it's also not the first time it's happened. It's happened in other countries as well. Yeah, there's the dominant demographic, and then there's a demographic that's on the low end, the rung, and they're trying to get the society to change, and then that government, that system, actively targets the leaders of that move. We literally see, or even the other way
around. How we'll send somebody in to take care of the leader of a
Yes. We're seeing that happening now.
That's some Sun Tzu shit.
Like, we see it happening now with Putin.
Yeah.
That press conference when him and Joe Biden's would have had that meeting, and that press conference said one of the journalists up there basically put him on blast. He was like, so every one of your members of your opposition have been poisoned, killed, or imprisoned. That's
coincidence.
Don't you think? Yeah, right. Don't you think that looks away?
Right.
And then his ass, he tried to do the whataboutism, and it was ugly, and it didn't come off. Like, well, they came up there for a political reason. Yeah, and they started beating the shit out of the cops. Talking about January 6th. They started beating the shit out of the cops with flagpoles.
Right.
And busting windows and attacking a government building.
Yeah, that's what happened.
You kind of left that out, Putin.
Well, we'll just like the Republicans, like, oh well, they're like tourists. No, I've been a tourist. I've traveled. I've gone to a few countries.
I've never
attacked the police with.
I've never entrenched upon a state building.
I've never.
Never.
Well, it's just like when it happened in Michigan earlier in the year last year when they were pissed about wearing a mask.
Yes. Mm-hmm. They attempted to kidnap the governor.
They occupied the building,
because they didn't want to wear a mask, and when they try to equate these things, they're like, "Well, you guys, there was rioting." Like, because agents of the state are murdering us without any accountability.
Yes,
and we did those largely out in public.
Right. Y'all running around doing shit, putting masks on your heads, and doing all kinds of craziness about shit that. Look, the reality is those masks, the masks by themselves, were not causing you any hardship, and you know it. And you know it.
Here's the thing that confuses me. It bothers me, and whenever I hear this mask argument, because I have asthma.
Mm-hmm.
On top of having asthma, I'm not in the best shape of my life.
Yep.
I literally will wear my mask for hours at a time.
I've seen it. I've been there.
So, and no issues. And I've seen the videos of doctors sitting in front of a machine where they're being monitored, their blood oxygen levels being monitored, and they put on mask after mask after mask after mask, and it's not going down. So, like, I don't get it. I don't understand.
Because white people do not like, well, there's a segment of the white population, right, and they're conservatives, generally speaking,
right,
who don't like even the modest bit of inconvenience,
right.
But then they'll look at what's happened to us, which is way more than an inconvenience.
So crazy, right?
And they just don't see it. And that's if people want to understand white privilege. White privilege is going in armed into your state capitol building and screaming at police at point blank range because you don't want to wear a mask.
Right.
And no accountability, not getting in trouble, not getting tagged for trespassing or a weapons charge or any of that, intimidation, none of that.
Right.
But walking down the street, and it's not even past curfew. It's just that curfew is coming up, and getting attacked because you can't possibly get off the street in time for the curfew, so we're just going to preemptively start. Right.
Yeah. And I often ask, if you were in our shoes, we already know how you would act. We have
be rich.
Right.
So it's like, the fact that you haven't seen any of that sort of thing or very little of that from us means that either one, we are very long-suffering people, or two, we have been so conditioned by the way things are that a lot of us don't have it in us to go to that extent because we are so used to not having and just accepting the fact that, look, this is how they're going to treat us. It is what it is. Because a lot of them white groups, they're not with that. The least little bit of inconvenience, they ready to go to war.
Well, here's the problem, though, because we do know we unfortunately have evidence of what will happen if we do. Because again, you look at like the Bundy crowd that took over a wildlife sanctuary, government building.
That's right.
And the only guy who got anything happen is the guy who came running at the police with a gun and got shot
and said he was going to do that previously.
And while yelling at the police to shoot him.
Yes, he said he was going to do that. He said he was
going to do it, and he did it, and that's what happened. Yep. And they were filming it on purpose, so he was trying to be a martyr. Whereas, Philadelphia, move. They basically, what you're separatists? You want your rights, and you're going to be a little militant about it. Oh, we're going to bomb your whole fucking
block, Joe. Then when you look at the Tulsa shit, name for me another race riot where there were planes used. Where Where? When? Where?
Well, also, and I object to them calling it a race riot because the implication of race riot is that black people started
right. That's the thing about it. That's not a race riot. They attacked black people. Right. They attacked black people. That's all.
That's right. 300 dead people, most of them black. Buildings destroyed. Millions of dollars of wealth and property destroyed.
Yeah. What's the difference between that? They do the same thing with this that they do with the whole Palestine-Israel thing. Same thing. Yeah. 10 people got the Iron Curtain let through something, and some guy got hurt. Meanwhile, hundreds of people over there, and they like, oh no, it's mutual combatant.
No.
You just squeeze them. They're literally on the edge. They're packed in this little ass area. And if you look at where they once, the property that they did have before the occupation, and afterwards, they squeeze them into this little. So the next place for them is in the sea. The next place for them is in the sea. And they can't leave because you control all the board. What about that is confusing people as to why people would be angry about that. Like, don't get me wrong, this is not to absolve any international crimes that some of the terrorist groups that came out of the Palestinians, but I'm always hesitant because I always say chicken and egg. Right. Because, like, if you created a situation that made a segment of those people feel like they had to do that, what to me would be the common sense is, okay, this cannot continue like this. Right. We have got to do something so that these people don't feel like they have to go to this extreme you would think that would be in the best interest of both groups. That Israel, like, yo, we can't keep having these attacks, people plotting against to do this and to do that. We can't keep having that. So what do we got to do? The problem is when people get power and they have a position over other people, they don't want to give that shit up for no reason. Bruh. They don't want to give it up for no reason. And if that means that they're willing to sacrifice a few people here and there getting killed in these attacks to keep that position, that is craven opportunism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. And I was trying to explain in another hangout a couple of weeks ago, the difference between now and years ago. Because they were doing a thing of, oh, Israel's surrounded by enemies and all this, and so they're going to have to defend themselves. I'm not against Israel defending themselves. I accept that Israel has the right to exist. Whatever people think about how it got created, it exists. So once it exists, the people deserve to have it.
It's here now. It's here.
Right. So you got to deal with it. But there was a time when the Arab armies were arrayed against Israel, were constantly attacking, looking for ways to destroy Israel. Yep. So Israel had to step up and defend itself, and it did. Great. And we helped them, and that's awesome. Somewhere, the power dynamic has shifted because, for a variety of reasons, those Arab armies don't really exist anymore.
No.
Egypt is an ally. Jordan is an ally.
Right.
Lebanon, their military is minuscule anymore.
Yes.
Syria has a decent military, but they're right now in the middle of blowing each other up.
Right.
And Iraq is no longer an adversary. They're not an ally, but they're not an adversary.
No.
Saudi Arabia's got bigger fish to fry. They're trying to keep their own militants from taking over the kingdom.
Facts.
So they're still warring with proxy war with Iran. So Iran they don't give a fuck about Israel. I mean, they got their own shit. They're trying to keep us from coming in.
Exactly.
So all those Arab armies that were a legitimate threat at one time don't really exist anymore.
No.
Yeah.
But so we keep having this mentality, this shudder mentality that they have to fight the Arab armies that they've already defeated several times over.
Facts.
And so somewhere, when no reasonable decent person is going to defend a terrorist shithead getting on a bus full of children and blowing them up. No one defends that. Anyone like that is disgusting and should be dealt with.
Exactly.
But at a certain point, because we all accept collateral damage in a war. So, okay, all I have are unguided rockets. I shoot them at you ineffectually. Some civilians are going to die. That's not good, but it's collateral damage.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, there's a terrorist. We think there's a terrorist in that apartment building.
Let's blow the whole building up.
Entire building up.
Yeah.
Or worse yet, those buildings are known to be occupied by journalists.
Yes.
We don't really like the reporting. Let's destroy them.
That's what I was thinking, right? Al Jazeera has offices and we see you. Like, we see you. We know what's happening. And again, when they don't get called out on it, what happens is if they don't get called out on the bullshit that they're pulling, you kind of give permission for the other people to do that extreme shit because they're like, you're judging us based on what? You won't even judge them. You won't even say what they did was wrong. You are in no position to judge what we do when we're the ones that have to live in the situation we're in. We're still here. Like, we're still in the world's most compact open air prison. We're still here. And many times we don't have electricity. Our running water is fucked up. And we can't even leave.
And by the way, Israel controls both of those.
So again, it's one of these things where it's like, if you're not going to call them out on it, you don't really have any credibility with those people that when you ask them to stop doing this shit, they're not listening to that. They're not going to listen to you. And I know you don't feel like they need to because you feel like you got force of arms. Well, the thing about having force of arms, Rome had force of arms for a long time until the barbarians were at the gate.
Right. Well, and the thing is what's happened now is, before it was always viewed as the David versus Goliath thing. Well, David has now become the Goliath.
Right. David is now the Nephilim. David is now the Nephilim, y'all.
And so when people see the disparity of, a bunch of unguided rockets versus, aircraft, and, so like planes and helicopters and tanks.
The Iron Curtain.
Like, wait a minute. There's something, Why am I to believe that these guys with barely anything are the biggest threat?
Yeah. How am I supposed to? How do you get me to see that? And then, because it's funny, because sometimes histories and experiences overlap. If I come from a situation, historic and current situation, where the people that I'm identified with and I identify myself with has been treated similarly, I'm going to see the connection.
Yeah.
I see the similarities. So I understand you want us to be the ally for you. And I am. When you're attacked by white supremacists, when some white supremacists goes inside one of the synagogues like they did and shoot everybody up, I'm on your side.
Right.
You cannot expect me to not see the parallels between the Palestinians and black people over here and then ignore it. I see it. If you put some people's backs against the wall, guess what's going to wind up happening? Just guess. Because I guarantee you it ain't going to be nothing pretty. Nothing pretty at all. Don't put people's backs up against the wall and you won't see a lot of it. That way, when somebody does do something super extreme, there's no gray area there. There's like, nope, you're wrong. What you did was wrong, and you got to be made to pay for it. But the moment you create a situation where there's enough gray area, you're going to have people hedging like, it was bad what he did, but y'all doing this. So maybe we don't know. Like, why is your lives more valuable than theirs? Why is your living experience more valuable than theirs? So they got to live with no electricity? They got to live with no water? Like, please explain why you get to control their borders. Explain it. Why you get to control their borders?
And the thing about it is, something you raised earlier that's important is when someone, anyone who's being reasonable, on the Israeli side have to look at the situation and say, okay, what are the strong arm tactics are not producing the results that we want. So we have to. So even if there was a more legitimate concern about the army stuff, say, okay, our current method is not working. We have to consider something else. And I tried to explain to a friend of mine because he was just stuck in, we got to be allied to Israel. I'm like, well, sure, but here's the thing. So Tony, you're my friend. So what if I tell you what's my goal and what are my methods? So if I say, hey, Landon, I want to lose weight. So I'm gonna hit myself with this box. Hey, Landon, I didn't lose weight. I want to lose weight. I'm gonna hit myself with the box again. I would hope at some point in this that you would say to me, hey, Joe, hitting yourself in the box does not appear to be an effective method of
No, absolutely. It's not working.
And if it was even worse, where I started kicking my dog Molly to try to lose weight, I would hope you would say, Joe, if you don't stop kicking Molly,
right. And I feel like you said, reasonable people should be able to see that this is not working. This is not working. And if you're only doing this, it reminds me a bit of the situation the United States finds itself with Afghanistan. So it's a bit of a sticky wicket. And when you don't play right in the first place, it's hard for people to have sympathy for you. So the United States has been, just like they did in the South American countries, they did the same thing over there, where they started mucking around with the government, mucking around with the people, trying to get some kind of control over some stuff over there. When you do that, you're going to create enemies. Once you create these enemies, especially in that part of the world, when they mad, they mad. And they're going to be mad for a long time. They're going to be mad for a long time. So now you're in a situation where you feel like you got to keep people over there. Why? Because if we don't keep people over there, they'll rebuild and then have a base with which to do big attacks. What's the one thing the intelligence in this country has said? Well, one of the reasons why we haven't had another one of those big 9/11 attacks is because these people have been on the run and they don't have a stable enough place to go to build up to something like that again. Right. So now you're caught in a catch-22 situation. Because if you haven't involved yourself with them in the first fucking place, we wouldn't be here. And now, to quote Sonny in A Bronx Tale, now you can't leave. Now you can't leave. Because you feel like if I leave, they're going to build up. You did this, though. You did it, and you are the bigger power. So you have to accept some of the responsibility, really the lion's share of the responsibility with this. And I always say, like that old Shaka Zulu made for a TV series. With the Shaka Zulu's mother, tell him, you never leave an enemy alive behind you to come at your throat. This country has left so many enemies that some are in flux, just biding their time waiting. Some are actively doing things like fucking around with our computer systems and shit like that, and our elections and shit like that. Like, this is because it's hard for you to tell people that how immoral they are for interfering with your shit after you've interfered in their shit. They don't want to hear that. It doesn't sound right coming from you.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like you said earlier about we can't look at today without any context if we don't look at what happened yesterday.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people that are against us is because we at least had a hand in that to some degree.
Yes.
And I think it was lost on a lot of people, but I'm sure you guys got it in the first Iron Man movie when Tony Stark realized. I was
about to mention Iron Man.
Yep. That he realized that it's his weapons that are killing villagers.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And he realized, oh my God, I'm at least partially responsible. Right. And yes, if I didn't do it, somebody else would, but then it wouldn't be me.
It wouldn't have been me. I wouldn't have this responsibility now. Right.
That's right. And so it's the same thing. And so I was trying to explain to somebody how it feels to a Palestinian family who, just say, well, a member of their family goes out and commit a terrorist act. Okay, that's bad.
Yes.
But then because my cousin, my brother-in-law committed an act of terrorism, you're going to blow me out of my house.
Yes.
And the weapons are going to say Raytheon, and they're going to say General Dynamics, made in USA.
Yes. How are they going to feel about that? And when the drone comes by and blows up a wedding and it's the wrong tent, the family members of those people or the survivors, how do you think they're going to feel? Because I can tell you how I would feel. And how easy would it be for somebody with a political agenda to come up to them and go, the great Shaitan, the United States, did this to your family. Don't you want revenge? Don't you know how sinful and evil they are to do something like that? You are well within your right to seek vengeance, and then get them to go along, train them up, put some fucking personalized explosive weapon on themselves, and go and blow some shit up. Like, you're creating the environment for stuff like this to happen, and then you don't want to accept responsibility for it. That's not going to fly. It's not.
Well, especially, if you think about where it's gotten worse is that, and I've argued before about, I think we when it comes to drone strikes, we get too obsessed with it because it's like it's the fact that they're being used, not the platform.
Right. Exactly.
With one exception, there are times when we shot TLAMs and they went awry and they hit a wedding or something like that.
Yes.
That's purely accidental.
Right.
So, because if you think about what a TLAM is, it's a suicide robot.
Yeah. Basically.
Did I give you my explanation on that before? I think I did.
I don't think you did.
Oh, okay. Well, think about it. So a TLAM, Tomahawk land attack missile, it's fired, it's given coordinates, it has GPS, and it also has terrain following radar, and it has terrain images. Right. So it actually follows a path. It's actually looking at the ground, say, I'm here. And when it gets to the target, it pops up and dives down on the target and destroys itself. Now, the fact that it's autonomous, once you fire it, it's a robot.
Yeah.
And then the fact that it purposely detonates itself at the end means it's a suicide robot.
That's facts. Right. That's facts.
So it's a suicide robot. But, okay, it's sent off. It's a mechanical thing. It can fail for a variety of reasons.
Right.
A drone is directed by a human being. There was a conscious person who looked at that tent and said, yeah, close enough.
Right.
So now in general, there's been less civilian casualties because of use of drones. However, that does mean that there's more culpability when it does happen because there was a human making a decision.
Absolutely. And trust me when I tell you, if the situations were reversed, that would be poor. Either way would be poor consolation for the people, the family members who lost family members as a result of that. They're going to feel away. When I had a friend of mine, his younger brother got hit by a car. It was an accident.
Mhm.
But it was a bad hit. That did not stop my friend from reacting in the moment to the driver, where we had to literally pull him off of the drop. It was an accident. His little brother darted out in the middle of the street, chasing something or chasing somebody, and the car hit him. I mean, any one of us could have been in that same situation. It couldn't stop in time, right? But seeing his brother injured, hurt really bad, he snapped. And you gotta allow for that to be a situation that's gonna happen.
Right.
That's going to happen. It's just going to happen.
Human
I don't
nature.
know. It's human nature, and I don't know what we do to absolve even the accidents, because it's still bad. It's still loss of life. It's still loss of innocent life. Somebody's gonna feel away. I had this person, and now I don't. And it was your thing that took it. So
and this is one of the problems with conservatives, is that they're so adamant that, well, we don't apologize for anything.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? If you acted, just say purely accidental, you have a military attack, you're trying to get bad guys, you accidentally get people who are not bad guys. There's nothing wrong, and in fact, there's everything right with apologizing.
Yeah.
In fact, what's interesting, I was watching. You ever see Dr. Mike on YouTube?
No.
He's one of the YouTube people. He's a doctor in New York City, and he also in New Jersey, and he does videos on medical things, and he also occasionally will do like reactions to like TV shows and movies. So, and he also works with. I don't know if you ever seen Legal Eagle. Sometimes they've actually collaborated.
I've seen Legal Eagle. Yeah.
So he made the point that they were doing this video. It was, I forget what the TV show was, but they were kind of doing it combination medical and legal.
Right.
There was there was some harm done by the doctor, presumably, and there was a suit. So that's why they wanted to do this collab. So one of the things that Dr. Mike pointed out is that if a doctor apologizes for a bad outcome, even if they're not accepting responsibility, if they're not saying, "Oh, I made a mistake," they're just saying, "We're sorry that it happened."
Right.
People are less likely to sue.
Yeah.
It was just an acknowledgement that wrongdoing was done to them, and that it was unintentional or accidental, and it wasn't, that we recognize that you were harmed, and we have empathy for your harm.
Right.
But they see it as a weakness,
and that's the thing I don't understand about that, because how many people you think, how many different countries? Or even groups that aren't connected to specific countries, but they're international terrorist groups, stuff like that. How many of these people do you want on your ass? Like seriously, we have the lessons of history, right? We have the lessons of history. I don't understand why we can't learn from those things and say, we're not doing it this way. It's an accident. Not only are we going to apologize, we are the world's wealthiest country. We're gonna pay you some restitution too for that. That's not what our intention was. You are not our enemy.
No.
We apologize and make a big show of it. What? How does that hurt you? You're the world's most powerful nation. How does that hurt you in any way?
Right.
Like, you're not gonna go broke. Give some restitution. Like, come on. It seems to me it's prevention is worth an ounce of cure.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, people, again, right wingers seem to think it's some sort of weakness, and I said, no, it's the opposite. It takes strength to acknowledge wrongdoing.
Yeah,
whether it was intentional or not.
Right.
To say my actions, whether accidental or any purpose, I caused you harm, and I didn't want that, and I'm accepting whatever culpability I am due. I'm accepting that exists. That takes strength. Strong people apologize for things legitimately and actually mean it, as opposed to people who say the words and don't mean it.
Right. Yeah.
Hell, in some cases, people would feel better even if you didn't mean it. Just the fact that you went through the act.
Exactly. And the thing is, when you're as a country, as a nation, as a government, you really do have a responsibility to set an example. When you come to your citizenry, that might some members of them might nut up and do something they had no business doing. There's expectations you have that they are brought to justice, right? That's the expectation. It's kind of like when it was funny to me to hear any president say this, but this just happened to be President Barack Obama to tell the protesters out the street that violence is not the answer, while simultaneously using violence in other countries. Right. That doesn't compute. So there's got to be a way to mitigate that. You got to have some sort of logic behind what you're saying to us. Be more explicit than that. Be more explanatory than that. Saying that, look, the stuff we do outside of this country is unfortunate. We wish we didn't have to. But unfortunately, in some cases, we have to. And sometimes we make mistakes. But if they had a history, a track record of owning up to those mistakes, and then paying restitution or doing whatever they needed to do to make the world know that wasn't our intent. We're not trying to be bullies. We're not trying to be this, that, and the third. Then they would have more credibility when you tell protesters that come from demographics that historically have been kept down, historically have been treated as less than, and to tell us that we have to go through another generation of that because, well, we're willing to give you Juneteenth, but we're not willing to do the other stuff. Y'all gonna have to go a couple of more generations. Really? Really? That is a tough pill to swallow.
Well, especially when they decry the violence of the riots.
Yeah.
But they're not decrying the violence that precipitated it in the first place.
Right.
It's that's the thing. Things, people, man. Not like a bunch of black people just got together and say, "Hey, let's start fucking shit up," just for no reason.
It's funny that you say that, right? Because it's the same thing as when black folks have been talking about what this system has been doing to them for the longest time. Our scholars, our musicians, you name it, they've been talking about this shit. When you see people try to deny these experiences, this is the equivalent of them saying that these millions and millions of black people are lying.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're lying. Or they don't have the cognitive ability to truly assess what's happening to them. And we now have to tell you what's really going on. Mm-hmm. What's really going on is you guys are doing great.
Right.
You guys are doing great. I know you're a little slow, so you're not picking up on the fact that you're doing great. You know how insulting that is?
Well, it's just like we said before about the ones that are like, well, aren't you glad you're not in Africa? And the people who say that know nothing about Africa.
Nothing.
They think that most people are living in huts.
Yeah, right. It's funny that you say that because you can clearly see it too. They make these assumptions, like we talked about earlier. The fact that they had to literally go and kidnap people and bring them over here, which means. And those people didn't like that, which means obviously they wasn't having a bad time where they were at. They were living their lives, going through their cultural norms, having a blast, eating good food. The weather's nice. They were having a good time, and you had to drag them over here kicking and screaming. So the idea that I should be somehow appreciative that I'm over here now. Hey, let me tell you something. My mother-in-law has been to Africa several times.
I have.
She said, really? I love it. I love it. I know people currently right now over there living, starting businesses, owning land that are from here. So it's like, and also, if Africa's so bad, why are so many white folks over there? And Chinese and Indians. What? If it's so bad, why are you over there? Buying up land, doing business. Right?
Bro, it was the late 90s, early 2000s when I was over there.
Well, here's something too. This goes into we talked about them appropriating Juneteenth, which we know is going to happen.
It's going to happen.
But because they've done it with everything else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing that I was trying to explain, cultural appropriation is to somebody who didn't get it. Right. And I said, because they were like, well, isn't it just sharing? I said, well, sharing happens between equals. And appropriation happens when between two groups that are not equal, because there's some sort of power dynamic. And I said you see it very easily in the English language. when the Norsemen invaded England, in the 800s or so, and then they captured roughly half the island, and then there was partition that ran from the northwest to the southeast, and everything to the northeast was the Danelaw, and everything to the southeast was England.
Right.
And so eventually trade cropped up. There was an easy, relatively easy peace. So there's trade, and Norse words infiltrated into English, not by conquerors, but by equals.
Yes.
So, and in generally speaking, the Norse, the Old English word and the Norse word in modern English have roughly equal value.
Right.
Craft and skill are roughly equal. Neither one of them. There's no tier in that.
Right.
However, when the Normans invaded and they conquered the country, and they were never really the numerically superior, but they had all the power, and they started building castles in order to enforce their will.
Right.
Their language became the language of the state. Judge, jury, prison, jail, all Norman words, Old French words.
Right.
And then in the case of, where it most obvious is in meat, the English word for the animal is still what we use today for the animal.
Right.
Pig, hen, cow, those are
Right.
all English words, and that's what we use for the animal. The Old Norse word, the Old French word for the animal is what's used for the meat. Pork, beef. Those are Norse words.
Right.
The
That makes sense.
ruling power owned all the meat.
Right.
And they were the ones that got served, so it was served to them in their language. So the name for the animal became the name for the meat in the English language because of a power imbalance.
Right.
Now, what happens in the United States? We've had Africans from various parts of mostly West Africa, but there's some from the Horn and some from the South, and they get brought here, and they contribute. We contribute to the language. We contribute to the food. We contribute to music. Black jazz, blues, rock and roll, rap. Those are all black art forms, all of them. Rock and roll was basically R&B stolen by white artists.
Yes.
So, and then you look at. I was watching this show. It was on. It was Andrew Zimmern. Was Bizarre Foods, Delicious Destinations, and it was talking about Southern comfort food. Every single item on that show, with one exception, came from African slaves, enslaved Africans who developed these from leftovers from the scraps they were fed. So Southern culture, people want to wave that Confederate flag and talk about heritage. Your heritage isn't even yours. You stole that.
Facts. It's just a fact.
Gumbo and red beans and rice and fried chicken
and that's appropriation. Another form of appropriation too is when the marginalized group has something they developed, that they created, and then while they're doing it and having a good time doing it, they get criticized for it, penalized for it. Through narrative, through perception, and through definition. And then as soon as the dominant demographic latches hold to it and decide, hey, this is pretty cool, they get to monetize it. Right? And they don't get the
it's suddenly acceptable.
It's suddenly acceptable. That's literally you making us pay for something that you at some point in the future will consider to be cool and make money off of.
Right.
Hell, and again, some examples with the Native Americans. The Native Americans ate clams and oysters and shrimp and lobster, and that was what there was actually a revolt by servants in I think it was early 1800s or late 1700s because they were being fed lobster 3 meals a day. All of a sudden, rich people decided lobster were pretty amazing, and they're not a lowbrow food anymore, and now they're scarce.
They're scarce and they're expensive. Listen, you're not going to get me to complain about eating lobster.
No, not at all.
You're not going to get me to complain about that. Not me at all. As a matter of fact, it looks like BCGz over there enjoying some lobster right now or something of that effect.
I don't eat lobster.
Oh, damn. Wow.
Too rich for my blood.
You over there? Too rich for oh, okay. Well, I see you over there filling your face with something.
I can't afford lobster. I'm a poor man.
Whatever. This guy over there stacking up chips.
Coins, my guy. Coins.
Whatever.
That's another one. You said about lobster. Made me think of the other. When we get lied about black people are on welfare eating lobster. Yeah, $129 a month on Snap. Yeah, you're buying fucking lobster. Yeah.
But again, if repeated often enough, and this is the other thing about power that people don't really factor in sometimes when we talk about it. It's one thing for you to have control over the political institutions in the country for years, but then you have control over the educational stuff. Then the entertainment.
You take out fun?
Right. So entertainment. One of the other things about entertainment, other than just entertaining us, it also teaches us. It teaches society. There are certain things that become, I would say, just assumed to be true because it was repeated often enough in something that we enjoy. Right. We enjoy watching this show, and they say certain things that everybody's saying it, or it's a phrase that's used all over the place, right?
Yep.
You can educate a populace with entertainment the same way you do with education. When you control those things and the economic structure, all of these things, that matters. That's when
indoctrination comes in place.
That's when indoctrination comes in place, and that's why we have to have a lot of these silly discussions about a lot of things that we talked about. Now we had this pushback. Some of this pushback is so obvious that it's like we know the only reason why you think that is because the people that control all of these things that help build narratives, they put that out there repeatedly, and you just assumed it was true. So when we come at you going, no, think a little harder. think a little bit harder and think through the maze of the repetition in the commercials, the repetition in the songs, the repetition in school, where a lot of times in school, which is the other thing I find funny, you didn't want to talk about our history at all. You literally tried to erase us. Like any conversation about us was that big on the page. And everything else was about the people you tried to lionize. All the people that you wanted us to have reverence for, which is propaganda. That's propaganda, right?
That's textbook.
Textbook. So the moment we get a few decades, we writing our own books and we're having our own discussions about what happened to us in this country from that vantage point, you flip out. You flip out and start making law. Nope.
I will not allow it. This is absolutely unnecessary and unacceptable.
Yeah. Well, and this is the reason why they can go and take over a Capitol building, they can take over a wilderness sanctuary.
Yeah.
But one man kneels, and he's ostracized and run out of the sport and booed and hated. One of the most hated men in America.
You know how many clicks Fox and the rest of these right-wing media outlets got by invoking his name and then spurring on the hate of that? Like it's the way these things work in this country, the things tend to snowball. And if you're not part of the ruling class and they form a narrative against you, they're going to have all the institutions spewing that exact same narrative, so that even people that technically should be on your side will start to believe certain things about you that's not true.
Oh yeah.
Well, this is why I said to a friend, you might have seen the comment on Facebook, Landon. I said that the people that tell us that we should stand for the anthem because that of a debt we owe to the people who defended this nation, I say that debt was paid by my ancestors who built this country for no remuneration and no rights.
Right. Right. That debt was already paid.
Talk about taxation without representation.
Man, listen. It's like it's
100% tax. 100% tax.
Right.
Yeah. It's a smack in the face. Look, I don't begrudge the people that was in the Japanese internment camp for getting what they got. And I don't feel any way that my parents had to pay the tax money to pay that. But it's a little ironic that the very people who built this country for free and got their ass whipped while doing it can't get that same energy where we say, okay, so we paid for people who were mistreated by this government too.
I would argue that outside of all the obvious reasons, a part of that issue is technology. These motherfuckers didn't know they were paying for that. A lot of these motherfuckers had no clue they were paying for those things. It's just that now, we have the Senate on TV 24/7. Oh, we got this. Oh, we have literal news stations dedicated to telling the news about what happens on the Hill.
Right.
So when any of these things comes up, it's like, oh, okay. Oh, they're talking about doing this. All right, well, how are they going to pay for this? And either the news stations tell you, or some of these people take our advice and they do their research.
They do their Googles.
And they find out, oh no, it's coming out of my pocket. Hell no.
That's because people
come out of your pocket already.
People are dumb because taxes have been going on in this country for a long time.
Forever.
If you don't know that your tax money goes through the government, I don't know what to tell you.
Since been pimping.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, here's the cruel irony of history. Those emancipated Africans had to pay taxes for reparations to the slave owners.
Yes.
Who got compensated for the loss of their slaves.
Yes. Yes.
We paid reparations to the slave owners and not the slaves.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And
up until a few years ago, wasn't England still doing that?
The UK up until a few years ago, I think it was around 2005 or 15, something like that. They still were paying slave traffic, the businesses, the slave traffic that was still around. They were still paying them. There's a whole article about it on the BBC website a couple of years ago, and I saw that shit and lost my shit.
They're compensating them for the lost revenue that they couldn't steal anymore.
Yes,
sorry, you couldn't steal the labor of enslaved people anymore.
Right,
we'll compensate you for centuries.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's a slap in the face, and for all of those people who would push back against the descendants of the slaves and the African slaves in this country getting anything, if you don't have the same energy for them slave traders getting money, you have no credibility with me. Your position is mute. It's mute. Because there's nowhere in the world you're telling me that my tax money had to go into, or some black people's tax money had to go into paying the people that abused and violated them, took away their family name, their culture, all of that shit, and left us a shell of what we were. There's nowhere in the world you're gonna tell me that that's acceptable and that we shouldn't see that as a slap in the face. It's absolutely a slap in the face.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The other thing that troubles me is that some of them will look at a guy like me, like, okay, I've had some success, my business is doing well, I got money, and they'll say, well, Joe succeeded, well, why can't everybody else?
Right.
And I'm like, well, okay, because I grew up in a white suburb with my white grandparents, and my last name wasn't, I wasn't Tyrone Johnson or Jaquan or something like that.
Right.
I get that interview without them knowing.
Right.
And I wasn't living in an area that was redlined. And even though my grandparents were not, they didn't have a lot, but still they had, they had something, and I was able to qualify for things. So I didn't grow up in the hood. I didn't face a lot of the systemic racism. For me, again, I said before, it was more the personal racism, the in your face kind of racism. But I didn't face all the institutional stuff because of where I lived. Right. So I'm the exception, not the rule.
Yeah. Right. They want to weaponize your success against the entire community. They want to say, well, Joe's doing well and he's black, so what's up with you guys? LeBron James is doing well. He's black. What's up with you guys?
I answer for that one.
What's the answer for that?
White people pay for entertainment.
Mm.
So
Who paying for them? Who paying for them expensive ass tickets?
If I have to be
to the basketball games,
if I have to be an actor, rapper, basketball player, football player.
Right.
Yeah, you know how much money is in football in the South?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. A bunch.
Let's not. Come on.
Well, they've always been okay with us, shucking and jiving and dancing.
Right.
Yeah. I talked to this attorney years ago. I was dating a girl. She was an attorney. And we went into his office, and she would use his office sometimes to work out of when she was in Baltimore. Old guy. His brother's name is on one of the court buildings downtown. Black, mixed, but black, right?
Right.
We were going to a spoken word thing.
Was always enough. The time has arrived.
Well, no, actually, she was in the contest. Okay. I convinced her to do it, but she had to stop off at the office first. And we was in the talking, and she introduced me to him. And she said, yeah, he's an artist. He raps and this, that, and other. He said, it's amazing. He said, because when I was coming up, we couldn't sell white folks nothing. He said, I respect you guys so much because you're actually you can actually sell them. They wouldn't buy nothing from us. They wouldn't buy nothing from us. Like that's a unique perspective that I had not factored in, especially from an older person.
Right.
Because you figure they would have something mean to say about rap. It's not. No, he was like, no, I absolutely respect you guys because we couldn't sell white people anything when I was going. Because now they're buying your stuff. You got to kind of like that, right?
Well, here's an example of this is in my own family, and this also goes to the whole point we said about destroying generational wealth. One of my uncles, one of my dad's oldest brothers, he went into business. He had a business in Abbeville, Alabama. Mm-hmm. He was successful. I'm sorry, it was one of my father's uncles. Excuse me. So he was a successful man. He was making wealth, and so first thing they did was they had him declared mentally incompetent. He's running a business that's successful, so he couldn't be too incompetent.
Right.
And then once he was in the facility, within a short period of time, he was dead. Because they were letting him and the community know, don't get too uppity. Don't stand up. You can't have that.
Right.
And that's my own family.
Right. Now multiply that.
Yeah.
This is the thing that I think when we had these discussions, they don't factor in the human cost. They see numbers. But we're talking about real lives of real people for generations. And the ones of them that managed to come up out of that, there were many of those that were crushed. Like, not for you. So it's one of them things that I feel like it needs to be addressed. And again, if you want for a larger slice of the Black community to really feel committed to this place and feel that they have as much stake in this as anybody else, you're going to have to address these grievances one way or another, or because the idea of going another 50 years, another 100 years, with that shit not being addressed, the further away we get from it, the less likely there will be any sort of recompense for the shit they did, especially since they are actively seeking to hide a lot of this information now. Like this shouldn't be lost on anyone. Shouldn't be lost on anyone that at a time when we have the most access to be able to speak out, express ourselves, disseminate information amongst more people quicker than any other time, they're now trying to push back to make it so that certain things aren't being taught or talked about legally. It's just a thought. Everybody needs to really understand that there's a culture war going on. We didn't start it though.
Right. We were the first casualty.
We were the first casualties of it. Exactly.
Well, this is the reason why I had an exchange. You know who Dark Matter 2525 is, right?
If not for him, I probably wouldn't have been known as much because he literally shared one of my songs on his page, and that's how I got a deluge right after the Atheist Experience when they played my song. That's how I got it from him. Yep. Nice.
Now, I had an interaction with him because I met John in person. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he is.
But he had posted on Twitter. He had said well, I never needed a role model that looked like me.
Never
And
an issue.
I'm like, well, but how do you know? Because they were surrounded because you were surrounded by them, so you had them, whether you wanted them, needed them, wanted them or not. And I said, but it goes further than that, John. It's not just a matter of I want to see someone who looks like me succeed. It's the fact that most of what we see are things that says when we try, we get knocked down.
Right.
That's what we see. So so the reason why it's important to see us actually succeed, say, oh, it is possible, even through all the slings and arrows, some of the slings and arrows, and maybe a few of us will get through.
Right.
So since Lizzie says it's possible, like Joe Pesci's character, My Cousin Vinny, the lawyer, the judge that was from Brooklyn, like him, so he made him feel like, oh, this is a possibility. Chris Rock had a great thing, said like when you're white, the sky's the limit, and when you're black, the limit's the sky. And so that's the thing. So we got to see that ceiling go up because that's the reason why a lot of people don't believe in the system. They don't trust the system because the system on many times has gone out of its way to tell us it's not for us.
It's not for you. And again, not knowing that you needed that. Does a fish know it's wet? Like you're literally.
I can argue the answer is yes.
Shoosh. Like you're literally surrounded by imagery of doctors, lawyers, politicians, presidents, captains of industry, inventors. Like when you go to school, your history is basically taught that you are great and y'all did great things. Like how do you know?
You don't know. Well, all right. So I actually had this conversation with somebody, and they conceded. I don't know if. I can't tell you if their mind was actually changed or not, but they conceded that I gave them this analogy. I said, imagine being black is like you're playing a dice game, some imaginary game where you have 2 dice in your hands, and if you roll and you get a number other than 7, on your next roll or any subsequent roll, if you get that number again, you win.
Right.
Those are the rules of the game. Now imagine there is somebody who had a regular pair of dice in their hands, and then there was someone who had a pair of dice in their hands where no matter what, their second roll is a 7.
Going to be,
So yes, they could possibly roll a 7 on the first roll and a 7 on the second roll and win.
Right.
It's possible.
It is.
But
the odds,
the situation exists that more than likely that first roll is not going to be a 7, and you know what's next.
Right.
Right. Well,
and when I said that, he said, "Oh, I see how that would be an issue." And I'm like, bruh, that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Well, and it goes really even further than a lot of people realize, because I try to explain to somebody that in my life, I've had black people. Hasn't happened, doesn't really happen anymore. But there was a period in my life where the fact that I was an engineer, I was a sellout.
That's insane.
But think about why that is, because basically, if you convince a population that that's not for us, then that means if you're stepping outside of that, you're trying to not be us. We're not those things. You're trying to be something we're not, that we've already been told that we can't be.
Right.
So the only way, and then if you think about it, a friend of mine who's from India explained to me the system of corruption that was set up by the British in India. So that basically the only indigenous people who actually made it is people who played the corrupt system.
Right.
So you had to kowtow to the Brits, and you had to. It's very often meant subjugating your own people for your own for your own benefit.
Absolutely.
And so you create this, and so this way, of course, it creates resentment, because then everyone who's not making it, they look at those people that are, and they know just about every one of them cheated to get where they are.
Yeah.
And you had to be against the rest of the Indians in order to achieve. So it's the same mentality. Oh, well, you're up. Oh, okay. What did you do? What did you do? How did you stab the rest of us in your
back? In the back to get in that position. Right.
It's despicable.
I mean, it's part of the politics of the haves, have-nots, and also especially when it's on a demographic level. I think a lot of the times when we have these conversations with people outside of our demographic, they don't seem to get that there are certain politics, social politics at play, even within our own community, that only exists because of the rung on the ladder of society that demographic typically is. There are certain conversations we have that no one else has because we have a unique history, how we got here, how we was treated. So there are certain things that our community. So when people say, why do you guys do that? Well, you might want to take a history course. There's a reason why certain things are the way they are here, and it didn't just happen today. You don't have people in conversations in white barbershops the same way in the hood barbershops. Some conversations is different.
Yeah, bro.
They're different. Like the stories somebody from the white demographic in the United States grandparents told them is vastly different than the stories my grandparents told me. You know, some of the stories my grandfather told me were horrifying, and if they were to be told like in a book or shown on TV, people that didn't have that experience probably wouldn't believe it. It was like, no, that couldn't have happened here. Nah, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened.
Well, and you think about within our own group, and we're like, okay, we call it colorism, but basically this is an extension of racism.
Yes.
So what it did is it was basically where it's like, okay, people, I'm pretty fair skinned. So if it was way back in the day, I would probably get treated better than the two of you.
Right.
And then, so what would that do? So I would be, on the one hand, I'd be privileged in the white community.
Right.
But then because of resentment, I would be disprivileged in the black community.
Right.
I remember if you look at early in the beginning of the movie Malcolm X, and he talks about how his mother purposely married the man she did because he was so dark.
Yes.
But she was very fair, and she wanted her children to be dark because because the other thing I tried to explain to some white friends is because that also meant if she was so fair and her mother was so fair, is that is a byproduct of rape.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
systematic rape of the women of our grandmothers and great grandmothers and sisters and all that.
Absolutely.
And so that's why that exists. I found in my ancestry in my the 1870 census, one of my great grandmothers and her mother living with a white man, and they're both listed as mulatto.
Wow.
So chances are he owned them previously.
Yes.
Right. That was probably his daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And previously, because there was no consent, you can't consent if you're a slave.
Right? Yes. Yes. The power dynamic.
Right. And that means her mother was raped too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because I love when they
maybe
talk about
by
Thomas,
him.
Maybe by him. Look, when they talk about Thomas Jefferson and the Sally Hemings thing, and the way I see very Pollyanna-ish people view that, where they say, oh, they were in love. Man, let me tell you something. You don't know what was happening in that situation. She was a slave. He was the master. Her life was in danger.
Right.
How could she say no to him?
All right, I have this question. It's a tangent. It is. I need to ask. So we're all it's fair to say, literally, you two just said it. We're all aware and understanding and in agreement that power dynamics fuck up these type of things.
They do.
My question, though, is, does it have to?
My opinion on that is, if I'm playing the odds, if I just saw you whip the shit out of somebody else that looked like me, how do I fall in love with legitimately, how is it not fair when I know that to say no to you could be the end of me, my family members? Yes, there's Stockholm syndrome is a thing. It absolutely is a thing.
Yeah.
But I think more times than not.
But that's
to be clear, I'm not just talking about slavery.
Right. But see, here's the thing, though. Yes, transference does exist, but even there, that is a mental condition. It's a defensive condition. So basically, say I'm in a situation I can't get out of, and that you end up identifying with your kidnappers or or who's ever in control of you. So now, is it possible at all? I would say, is it possible in the broad sense? Yes. How likely is it? And then also, how likely is it that there was no transference going on?
Right.
It's just like for years and years when they were arranged marriages. Yeah, I'm sure there's times where the woman in the marriage eventually had feelings
for the guy.
Man,
right.
She was basically told, "You're going to marry this motherfucker or you die. Throw you to death."
Yeah, that's not really romantic. Like
you have family honor. Because you wouldn't marry the person we told you to, and we will stone you. This still happens today.
Yeah. It sure does. It sure does. And that's the thing. Like like you said, in the broad scope of things, of course it's possible. Of course. But is it probable is the thing. It's like, there's a situation. If it's too hot in the house, too hot in my room, don't touch me.
But
so now that's just a temperature thing.
Right.
The person that's touching you, you just saw them sell somebody's kid to another plantation. The person you just saw them murder one of the other hostages. You just murdered one of the other hostages, right? You're a hostage. Are you really? It's possible, but I mean, probable. I don't know. I think more times than not, it's people making a life choice. I choose to live, so let me say yes. Now to just SBJ's point though, take the power dynamic at a job. Right. I think that's possible, where the person can absolutely have feelings for the boss, for the supervisor, for the whatever. Yeah, that's possible. But then their livelihood might be at stake, but their life isn't at stake.
True.
So that's possible. I mean, there's different job dynamics where sometimes the supervisor works very closely with the employees, and maybe not from a situation of this being necessarily all the time the dynamic of underling overlord. No, we work together as humans and we talk. We learn about each other's family, about how each other's day. I can see that. But in a situation that's extreme,
right.
That's
well,
hard.
And it's certainly the case of Sally Heming. The fact that he didn't free her,
right.
Plus, what a lot of people don't realize is she was the half sister of his wife.
What?
And the property of his wife.
Yeah.
So basically, Sally Heming's mother was the property of Martha, whatever Jefferson's wife's name was.
Mm-hmm.
Her father owned Sally Heming's mother, raped Sally Heming's mother, and made Sally, and then was given to Mrs. Jefferson as a present.
Oh, jeez.
At age 14. So that's her. So she was given to her own sister as property.
Holy shit!
And then as far as the dowry given to Mr. Jefferson, who proceeded to rape his own, and I'm going to say rape his own wife's sister because he could.
Yeah.
And now, granted, he did treat the offspring of that union better than the rest of his slaves. Mm-hmm. Apparently, one of the children became a cook. And all that, and he did free them on his death. She didn't get freed ever.
Right.
So if he loved her so much, and mind you, his own wife had died young.
Right.
So he could have made her free at any time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's why I don't did any attempts of making that a love story, I reject outright. It's there's so much ugliness there. It's rather perverse.
Yeah.
It's rather perverse to try to turn that into, and I've seen people do it. I've seen people make the attempt to do it.
Right.
And it just leaves a horrible taste in my mouth. Like yo, are we I didn't even know about her lineage. That makes it even worse. It's disgusting. And again, like I always say, multiply that by millions.
Yeah.
You'll see.
And like I said, and again, the people who try to make that's why I would love. I mean, G-Man lives near me, and I would love to him to provoke me into a fight because I'd love to punch him in the motherfucking mouth. Who's out there always fronting for slavery was justified and not that bad.
Yeah.
Because 1808, the importation of slaves was outlawed. You could still keep the ones you had, but you couldn't bring in more legally from Africa.
Right.
So the only way to make more, if you wanted to be a slave trader, was to either get your slave to copulate, to breed, or do the deed yourself, which happened a lot. This is the reason why if any of us take a DNA test, almost none of us are going to come up 100% African.
No, I'm partially Irish.
You're Irish,
yeah, partially Irish. So.
Exactly. So, and I actually know the family. I've actually determined that my father's last name is the same name as the slave owner, and I got DNA matches to white people with that name who are descended from the owners of our family.
Right.
So I know for a fact that they were raping my great grandmothers.
Jeez, man, it's one of them things where when you strip away I think a lot of times people have this cognitive dissonance with slavery, and some of it is from a lack of knowledge, and they didn't have to know about it. So it didn't affect their lives in no way. But when they think of slavery, they think, oh, people telling other people what to do. Nah, there's so many different other crimes that's layered in the slavery crime that it's when you start thinking about the ugliness of it, for anyone to try to tell a people to get over that is disgusting as fuck.
Yeah.
It's to the point where it's almost predatory. Like you're telling them they're supposed to get, and mind you, it's because, like I've said numerous times, they want you disconnected. They wanted you disconnected from the continent that your family came from, and they want you disconnected from the family members that they brought over here and mistreated. So if you start seeing them as just those people back then, you don't feel no connection to what happened. If you start feeling no connection to the continent or the rest of the diaspora, you start saying things like, well, I'm African descendant of slaves. Dude, listen. The people down in the West Indies, they was on the same boat you was on. They just dropped your ass off in Virginia.
Right.
Dropped your ass off in Virginia, and they went further on down the line to the sugarcane plantations further down south.
Right.
But they was on the same boat. Don't sit up here and act like they didn't go through similar, if not worse. Some of the stuff that happened on the African continent, horrific.
Well, that's horrific.
Well, yeah.
Because a lot of people don't realize, there was slavery by Europeans in Africa.
In Africa, yes.
There's a place in Nigeria I want to visit. It's called the Point of No Return.
Yes,
and that's where, from that area of Africa where the processing happened. Every slave that left from that point. Everyone in that region left from that point, and I know that because I know that I have Nigerian ancestry. Mm-hmm. That at least some of my people came from there. So I got this. So I got to send this in. And this is for tribal identity, because one of the things that Ancestry and 23andMe, they'll tell you rough region of Africa.
Yes.
Say Nigeria, well, there's like 7 or 8 different tribal groups within Nigeria.
Right.
So, but we don't know because it was erased.
Yeah.
But this is our way to get some of that back.
Nice. Nice. I tell people all the time is we so myopic here in the United States. There's 47 million black people over here. There's 200 million black people in Nigeria. Right? So just as reference, right? Like we think it's a whole bunch of not really. There are more black people in Brazil,
right,
than here in the United States. Like I think that's something that is overlooked. I want to I want to thank Joe for coming on the show. Once again, we had a great conversation.
Absolutely.
It's always good to have Joe on the show.
Hell yeah.
Always learn something. Having that perspective. I want to thank all of the people that listen to the live stream today, that come out every Saturday. Because as soon as you see Saturday morning cartoons is on, y'all come running. That's like I used to do when I was a kid. So I get it. I do. But
do you really know?
Yeah, I really do.
Okay.
We really appreciate y'all. I'm glad my sis popped up in here, Marissa.
What up, sis?
She probably gonna have to watch the playback because she probably was busy doing something else. And she came in at the last minute.
I realized that a lot of people, when they come in, they tend to start from the beginning.
Yes.
So like Mike did it again where he made a comment or something, and I'm like, "Yo, Mike, what are you talking about?" Then I thought about it. Like,
you talked about that earlier in the show. Talked about that earlier in the show, but it's always great to have have these people that are committed to the show, listen to the show. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And it helps us grow. Appreciate Biddy Love popping in because look, we had Biddy Love. We got international people in here. We had somebody from Ontario. Like it's dope. It's dope. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate y'all. Y'all definitely add to the show with your comments and observations. Be sure to check out Jaded Nerd Celebrity Beat, Gossip Beat that he does on his Jaded Nerd channel. Check out Adequate and Adequate's Game Room. You can find that on YouTube and on Facebook. And check out the Metas and Mutants podcast with me and my guy, Super Side Guy, where we talk about comic books, comic book movies, all of that stuff. And of course,
I prefer Cyrus the Virus, though.
Cyrus the Virus.
That's
your favorite. Yeah. You can thank Napalm for that. Also, the Rise podcast once again tomorrow at 12 p.m. EST with Coach Squeeze. And hopefully we might have a special guest, hopefully on there tomorrow. But yeah, so for my man SPJ, I am Tombstone the Dead Man, and for the greater multi-world entertainment family and Joe,
absolutely,
we are out of here.